And then I'm going to go into YouTube. Go ahead and click online. Starting. So you should see it here soon. Probably going to catch that audio there, but
I'm not even on it. I'm still queuing up my email so I can flip over to the link. And I sent you the link on the Sun's article.
Okay. I'll have to populate that in there soon.
Okay.
So
it's in the YouTube the Skype chat.
All right, we're live right now, so be aware of that. Yeah, we're live. Let me just I just need my preview.
Yeah, let me go mute while you.
So yeah, we're live right now. Don't want to give anything away. Okay.
Well, let me get over to the page so I can see it.
All right. So I'm gonna come out in the scene right now, but I want to let everybody know that we're live right now, and I'm gonna turn the desktop audio, because that'll give you a loop back. Yeah. So looks like we are live. So go ahead, RJ. You wanna welcome everybody tonight to the live stream. We got a good show for you tonight. Take it away, RJ.
My microphone was
holy macro. Okay, that's what it was.
Hey everybody, what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay, load them up. Go Yeezy and 22 Gino. Go get the other knuckleheads. Come on, get all knuckleheads in here. We got some stuff to talk about today.
We're gonna let them file in.
Yes, let the knuckleheads file in. That's the thing about our knuckleheads. They're not like timekeeping people. They just kind of move on their own. You know, they just, when they're getting good and ready to come in, they just kind of stumble on in. But I did put a quick hit over on my page that we were doing it over here. So we're doing that. No, I was noticing in that article about the Sun. In the Sun, they got a picture of me. I'm almost embarrassed. I think I'm 40 pounds heavier than I am now in that picture. Even my wife looked at me and she's like, "Damn, you look really heavy in that picture." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, huh?" Like the Kevin Smith of documentaries now, you know, losing all this weight, and I didn't even have a heart attack or anything like that to get it. So what's happening with you these days, Kazi? Oh, that's that picture. You have that picture of me up there. That's the picture where I look like I got no chin and my cheeks have disappeared. You could tell because I got like, I'm kind of more narrow through the cheeks now and everything. Yeah, dude, that I gotta give you a better picture, man. That picture is like, it's not exactly an autistic representation. So we'll have to fix that here. I'm gonna pop the chat out so I can see what's happening with everybody. And all right, so we got some people in the house. Yeezy's in the house. Gino's in the house. 22 Machiavelli to Don Outlaws. Boy, the names are getting longer and longer on these people. What's up? Cypress Gardens 1213. What's up? Let's see. Big J21. What? Tedilio. Yeah, you read about that. I buy houses. Greetings. Yes, the original knuckleheads are coming in here. Be one of the original knuckleheads. And you know what? While we're kind of kicking it for a minute, just seeing how things are going here, I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to see. I don't look like I'm 300 pounds with my. Oh, by the way, sponsored by Bob's Big Boy. There you go. So everybody knows who Bob's Big Boy is. One of the best hamburger restaurants around. You know, Kazi, have you ever wondered why I kind of like suddenly jumped back into doing this stuff again? You know, things were kind of quiet for a little bit. Everybody said that I was working with Reggie and, you know, I was just kind of, I don't know, in the cut. I mean, people were saying different things like, oh, he's in the cut or, you know, Reggie got to him or he's part of the Illuminati or he's part of the murder, you know, he's part of the, you know,
right,
the FBI, I mean, you name it. I've heard it all at this point. But you ever wonder why I suddenly want to get back into it again?
Well, for a conversation not not really, but I mean, you've been in the game for a long time, so I think that you start getting the itch to get back in, and then you start regaining your focus. So um, let everybody know. I mean, I can only speculate, but certainly
Well, that's
to
okay.
everybody.
Well, I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why. Um, I was thinking about it a couple of weeks ago. I was thinking about it, and it really started to bug me. You know, sometimes when you're a good investigator, information comes in bursts. There will be times where it'll be down for a little bit and won't be very noisy, and there won't be a lot going on. And then there's a wave of information. Well, back in the olden days, it used to be that when there was a lull, there just wasn't much happening. It was just kind of low tide. You could walk around, low tide all day, no problem. But in the last year and a half or so, I get almost 2 years, but more like a year and a half. One thing I've noticed that's changed in the groundwork a little bit is that, and I won't name names, but I do notice that now when the information goes low and there isn't really valuable information in there, that's when a lot of people who have nothing to say, or a lot of people who want to make a lot of shit up, they kind of like they make their own putty and they try to fill it in. They try to go fill in the low tide with fake news, fake information. A lot of Tupac Alive stuff kind of comes around. If you notice, there's actually a timing to all of that. That stuff starts to come up. The Tupac Alive stuff really starts to come up when the real news about what's going on in the investigation is kind of low. Maybe there's nothing new for a while. So they actually start making up things to kind of fill in the gap. It used to be just the gap just kind of went away for a little bit. Have you ever noticed that? That it used to kind of come and go, and now all of a sudden it's kind of being filled. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
'Cause I
Well,
have.
I was very surprised when we were speaking about the documents that he had gotten. I had never thought in a million years I would ever see that, but when you brought it up, I was pretty amazed. But the one person that could get it was you, out of anybody and everybody. So basically,
Oh, thank
we
you.
should give you a lot of credit for that.
Nah, well, yeah, I'll tell you, it does. It comes in bursts, and you get it, and you do what you can with it, and it, like I said, it comes in bursts like that. But what I didn't like was that I was kind of being silent. And like I said before, and I've said this many times on the show, I didn't feel it was appropriate to go off directly on Reggie Wright Jr. or riff on him a lot because he was in prison. And I know what it's like with guys like Robert Soria, Kenny Bogney, uh, Michael Harris, all of these people that are in prison that really don't have a voice because they don't have anybody that's kind of set up to take their calls in that, and therefore people like, oh, I won't name another name, but it sounds like Kading. They definitely go in and use that to run them down. Robert Soria, it's so funny. They've just shit all over Robert Soria and saying, oh, he's a pedophile, oh, he's this, he's a convicted child molester, he's a convicted felon, blah blah blah. Since I'm sorry, which one of them has the moral high ground on that one? Okay, really? I mean, Kading's never been convicted of a felony because he's an ex-cop. I mean, I get that part of it, so he preaches a little bit at people. But the other ones are a bunch of convicted felons. They're sitting around a bunch of convicted felons saying that one kind of convicted felony is better than another, I guess. And I haven't seen that chart. Maybe, I don't know, Kazi, if you find it floating around somewhere, maybe you can find me the pyramid chart of felonies and what's like the better felony than another felony. What felony is actually good versus a bad felony? To me, they're all the same. You're a fucking convicted felon. You committed a felony. You got convicted. That's that. Do I stand in judgment of you? No, but let's call it for what it is, okay? It's not like suddenly you're going to be a convicted felon and your reputation is sterling, okay? It just is what it is, okay? I've never been convicted of a felony. You've never been convicted of a felony. There's a reason. You just stay away from things that keep you from being convicted from felonies, right? That's the thing. I mean, if Reggie, and he's the first one to say it, but if Reggie didn't want to go to jail, he probably should have been dealing drugs. I mean, that's just kind of the way of it, or money laundering, or doing the other things he was convicted of. But what I really didn't like, Kazi, was the fact that I felt like the narrative of the investigation, because I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was kind of laying low a little bit. I was trying to figure out if there was some direction that I wanted to go that was different than what I was doing now. Uh, I felt like in my silence and in my not really paying a lot of attention to it over the last 6 months, 8 months to a year, that it wasn't like the narrative was going away. It was just being completely manipulated in a different direction, if that makes any sense at all. That people were definitely starting their own podcasts. They were starting their own, and I call them circle jerks. And I'll tell you why I call them circle jerks. Okay. Because you got this group of people, and it's 4 or 5 people. It's like Mob James and Greg Kading and Reggie Wright and a couple other people that are involved with that clique, that little 4 or 5 people. And the funny thing about it is when there's no news, they interview each other. Okay. One time it's Greg Kading interviews Reggie Wright. Then it's Reggie Wright interviews Greg Kading. Or Greg Kading goes on the Reggie Wright podcast with Mob James. Or Mob James and Greg Kading go to Australia. You notice it's like a clique of 4 or 5 of them running around, and that's what they do. They all do that. And when it gets slow, they just fucking interview each other. So, but in doing so, what they're doing is they're filling up a lot of airtime, and they're making a lot of videos, and they're filling up a lot of videos with a lot of things that aren't true. Now, I'm not going to call them liars because I'm not saying they're lying about anything, but either they're misrepresenting stuff, or they're mistaken about things, or they're just putting out wrong facts out of ignorance or maybe malice. I don't know, but I'm not going to judge it like that. But I'm definitely going to say that I felt like for the last 6, 8 months, the narrative is being controlled by a different team than one who represents some of the same things that we believe in. Have you sensed that, Kazi? Has that been a disturbance in the force that you seen?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no. Let me turn my mic down a little bit more because I think it's a little too hot here. But let me turn it a little bit lower. There you go. Um, I think when there's not a second side of the story, basically the other side can just pretty much control the narrative, and that's what they've done. And when they do that, and there's nobody to dispute those theories of theirs, then basically everybody believes what they're saying. But I do have a question for you beyond
Yeah,
that. Now that and we're barely we're at the infancy of showing these documents, and we've been through a few of them
yeah,
already.
yep,
And
yep.
you have an opinion on them as far as, do you think that now that they've released these documents, that it's going to give them a push to reopen the case and start doing an investigation?
Well, QMax is saying that you sound very muffled still, so you might want to check that out a little bit.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you can turn your mic up a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, well, first
I'll
off,
turn
if
it
you
up now.
listen to Vegas, they're going to be the first ones to tell you that they've never stopped investigating. Okay, and that's why I kind of explained the whole thing about in any investigation, there's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be where a lot of information might come in. You have good days where there's plentiful information, and then there's days where you just get suck out. They don't get anything. It's like fishing. One day you go to the same fishing hole. One day you catch a lot of fish. The next day you won't catch anything. So, and in real investigations, it's that way too. So the Las Vegas police, they could, I mean, both things could be true. There could be an active investigation, but just not a lot going on. Especially, and this is where I think it's focused now, and I think that the documents are kind of showing it, is that this information is getting narrow. Okay. The further you go along in an investigation, the more narrow the investigation is going to get, the more you're going to hone in more, throw things aside that may not be as relevant. You're really going to see it focused. Now, the problem with that is that if you're wide receiving, or if you're broadcasting, then you can pick up anything and everything makes sense. You get a whole ton of information. 80% of it's worthless, but you get a ton of information. Once you've zoned in on something, once you've focused in on something, and you really decide that you are honed in on a person or a person of interest or a suspect, or even just a narrative, then the information that you're going to get to support that narrative is going to be less and less. Jen Marie, thank you. Holy crap. Thank you. Super chat. That was a big one. Wow. Thank you. That was really
Yeah,
nice.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, yeah. So the big thing that we're looking at in terms of and by the way, Jen Marie, you're free to ask a question. Anybody who puts up that kind of super chat goes to the front of the line. I will shut the fuck up and we will answer your question. So, we'll just do it that way. So at any rate, though, and this is why I think this is kind of what goes on behind the closed door. And you know what really sad about this is that I think Greg Kading could do such a great job of not investigating. Well, he could do a great job of investigating if he chose to, I guess. No, what I was going to say is he could do a great job of explaining the investigative process. And that's the thing. Have you ever really heard him break it down? Have you ever really heard him talk about the investigation or Vegas PD or how they do these things? Have you ever seen that at all?
No, basically just seen him hold up documents and not let anybody see what they say, and it could be a blank document. And he can say, "Look, I have the proof right here."
I mean, like
Yeah, like
this.
that.
Hey, look. This is the confession letter. Here it is. Woo! There you see it. There you go. See it? Psych. Yeah, I get that. But the thing about it is probably one of his best gifts that he could have because he has been an investigator for so many years, good or bad, it doesn't matter. You still understand the process. And so when people ask about what's going on behind the scenes, why does it take a guy like me? I'm an investigative journalist. I do that. I was sworn in as a police officer. I've done that, but I've never been a detective on a police department working a major case. So I wouldn't know how that goes, generally speaking. But because my dad was a detective, my grandfather was a robbery homicide detective, and you kind of hear the stories and you ask the questions, you get briefed on it. And I've had many conversations with my dad about investigations and how they go. And one of the things that he said, and we were just talking just last week about this, is that now that they have focused down on the narrative that they believe, any information that comes in, they can get 18 pieces of information every day. In the early days in the investigation, those 18 pieces of information are all important because they don't know where they're going. Then 9 of them don't become important anymore. Then 13 of them don't become important anymore. Then 15 of them don't become important anymore. And then 18 of them don't become important anymore. And you wait around for that one or two things. And you got to understand that the more you are looking for narrow information, the longer it's going to take for it to come in. So that's why. And I mean, you read it in the paper every day, Kazi. I just saw a thing where people were actually, a 34-year-old unsolved murder was just solved using DNA evidence. Okay, there are all of these unsolved homicides that are getting amazingly getting resolved after decades. Based on the turn of one piece of information. And of course, that's what it takes because only that one piece of information will lock in where that narrative is or where they think they need to be with it. So that's the long way of answering your question to say, do I think that now that all of these documents are coming out? No, Vegas has already had all these documents. Okay, they already have them all. It's nothing new to them. Maybe by putting this information out, somebody who has some stuff might actually help, might give some stuff up there. That would be kind of cool. But when it comes down to just the investigation itself, I think that they're really in a holding pattern, and maybe this information might help somebody provide that one bit, that one clue that helps push them over the edge to really driving this thing forward. It certainly couldn't hurt. But I just think that that's where they're at this point. I think they've narrowed down. They know who they think did it. They have the narrative already nailed down. And to their point, they're still holding on to 1,900 pages of documentation in their files. They've given up almost 1,400, but they're keeping 1,900 of it, 3,300 documents, because, again, they don't want to alert the person of interest. So it's pretty bold statement right there. And by the way, if y'all haven't checked it out, we did make the Sun UK, the UK newspaper, the Sun, put out a thing about the statement by Vegas police that they aren't going to give up the documents because they're afraid they're going to alert a person of interest. So all you persons of interest, be alert. That's all I can tell you. But we made the sun. They put a picture of me there, like that one that's in the corner of the screen where I look super duper fat. But that's okay. The information they had good, and they did bring up the confession letter again. I think that every time that can come back into the spotlight again. I heard Mr. Kading say something in an interview that he did with some podcast that Reggie Wright's a part of. That he said, if we don't have Orlando Anderson, who we don't have anybody. Well, yeah, that's right. That's why you investigate. But why would you, if you don't have Orlando Anderson, then you don't have anything? Then why wouldn't you pursue any other lead that might possibly come in, that might possibly be a thing there? So I really, am sad that they don't take things a little more credibly. Now, according to Greg Kading, Vegas police had this confession letter for some time. I don't know that they have or haven't, but who knows what they're doing with the confession letter? They're certainly not going to tell LAPD what they're doing with anything, So for all we know, maybe that's one of their narratives. Who knows? I mean, that's kind of exciting to think about, but it's really true, right?
Yeah, well, persons being plural,
so this,
right? I mean, persons.
Yeah,
Not person.
persons. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and by the way, and somebody did ask me this, so it's worth having the question. And Jen Marie, you can certainly ask another question, but I'll credit you with this question, even though you didn't ask it, because you were so nice. Somebody said, well, okay, looking at Keith Davis for a minute as an accessory after the fact or an accomplice to the killing of Tupac Shakur. There are a lot of states, and Greg Kading's been pushing for an arrest, and we've already talked about that really the only person that benefits from an announcement that Keith Davis got arrested is Greg Kading, because that's what it fits his narrative. So, will it lead to a prosecution? Probably not. And will it lead to him being a witness to anything else? Probably not. But the one thing that I did want to make clear, because we always want to stay on the side of the truth here. We don't want anybody thinking that we're just pulling a bunch of bullshit out of here just to support a narrative, because that's what I accuse other people of doing. In the state of Nevada, unlike a lot of other states, you actually can be convicted of the crime of being an accessory before the fact or an accessory after the fact. An accessory before the fact is somebody that helps another person in the commission of a murder. If you're an accessory after the fact, you're a person that helps conceal evidence or harbor the person or hide the person that's committed the murder or other felony. So you can be an accessory before the fact, an accessory after the fact. Now, in a lot of states, it's actually a requirement that to be convicted of being an accessory either before or after, which Keith Davis arguably could be both or either one, to be convicted in that state, most states you have to actually have the person convicted of murder first. So in other words, if they said, well, RJ, you're being convicted because you helped KAZE commit this crime, well, you have to commit KAZE the crime first. You can't convict me of aiding a crime and aiding this person or hiding this person if we haven't established that this person actually committed the crime. That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. So what I have to ask you to chime in from time to time, otherwise it sounds like a sermon. But
yeah, I just get kind of sidetracked because I'm over here monitoring the audio and just kind of reading the comments. So if I don't answer right away, sometimes
nice. Okay.
I have to
very cool.
Jump back in.
Awesome. So where it kind of stands with the shit, I just lost my train of thought too. I was joking, I lost my train of thought. Gosh, somebody help me remind me what I was just talking about. Yeah, this is a product about getting old. You get old, and then you can't. The hell you just said? I riffed on KAZE and then forgot the fuck what my big point was.
Well, there's a lot of. I mean, think about it. I mean, right as you've been the last few days, you've been reading all these documents and kind of just going through them and kind of just figuring out, the salient points and things of that nature. Because, like you said, there's some stuff in there that's just filler.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, the other thing too is that I finally remember my point. Thank you for bringing me home on that. An accessory after the fact. In the state of Nevada, you actually can be convicted of being an accessory to a murder even though the person that is you allegedly aided and abetted, you allegedly were an accessory to, wasn't convicted or might even been found innocent, you can still be charged with helping that person out. Okay. Now, Greg Kading's running around saying, well, he confessed to it. He confessed to it. Well, you gave him immunity on his confession, first off. So that kind of calls everything into question, because once you've given them immunity, he goes, oh, that was just under the proffer deal. That was just when he said in the proffer. He's immune from whatever he said in the proffer deal. Well, yeah, but it's not quite, legally speaking, it's probably not quite that clean. I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of gray area with Keith Davis's alleged confession, and that the LAPD gave him an immunity from prosecution, or maybe even the feds gave him an immunity. Feds don't usually, the federal murder thing is a whole different story than state. Murder is usually held by the state. And that they gave them immunity from prosecution. Now, Vegas could say, well, that doesn't matter. We don't care if California gave them immunity for prosecution. It's a different state. We give a fuck what they do. But it's also, though, they know they're going to have to take it to trial. They're going to have to get people in a jury box. And the case of Keith Davis is extremely complicated. It didn't have to be, but when you get cowboy cops running in there trying to solve a drug case, which it was the Hawkins case, Jerry Hawkins was the name on the interview form that they had filled out when they filled out the Keith Davis thing. They brought Keith Davis in having just something to do with Jerry Hawkins. I don't know what, but that was the whole thing. They, didn't bring somebody in to try to close a 24 or 20-year-old, or even at that time, a 13-year-old cold case and give the guy immunity from prosecution to lead to the conviction of a dead guy. I mean, think about how just dumb that sounds on the surface anyway. But it was this kind of jackass move that they hoped that maybe Keith Davis might say something about the Tupac killing. It was kind of a jackass move because it really clogged up, in my opinion, it really clogged up any legitimate prosecution that they could do against Keith Davis, because he's bringing in good attorneys. You've got to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. And there's always going to be, because of that stupid proffer session, because of that stupid stunt, that could cloud, and an attorney's going to go out because it clouds his motive for saying the things that he's saying and what he's gone on later to say. Even outside of it, he's admitting to all these things, but he could be lying about everything. There's no proof to anything that Keith Davis has said. When you think about it, it's nothing, not a single shred of evidence to anything this clown has said, period. So you could be lying about the whole thing. So yeah, let's say Vegas PD says, oh, Keith Davis said he confessed to it. Boom, okay. Brent Becker told me that the suspect in the Tupac Shakur killing could have a smoking gun, could set it down on top of the counter, and confess to making the killing, and they would still have to go to court and prove that he did it beyond a reasonable doubt. And your own admission to your own involvement in it is always not enough. They still have to prove their case. So again, it's really cloudy. So, okay, and I'm drawing this back around for a reason, because I want to talk about a little bit about the Vegas files and the persons of interest and all that. Okay, I don't see Keith Davis as being a person of interest in the Tupac killing that Vegas is trying to keep information from. The guy's already confessed to it. If they already had a whole bunch of other evidence against Keith Davis and then he confessed on top of it, then Kading's right. What, they should just throw the cuffs on him and it's over. I mean, he confessed to it. Okay, great. Well, we had all this other information on him anyway, so fuck him. He's gone. That they could do that, but that's what leads to me to believe that they are so not in the Orlando Anderson Keefy D thing. Okay, that they're not looking in that direction. Okay. And there are some buoys that, like Brent Becker has floated, that, that he doesn't necessarily believe, at least is what he's told us, that it was a coordinated shootout. But he also said you can't rule anything out. He just said it just seemed really like a crime of opportunity, because they'd have to be, in his words, pretty good. And I'll pull that clip so we can put it up there. I'll put it up another podcast or another video up there. But he says, they have to be really good to pick that particular location. Well, maybe they were, And he says, you can't rule anything out. He says, but it seemed to me at the time, and this is what he's talking about initially, not what he knows now, but initially when he first got on the scene, it seemed like a crime of opportunity. It seemed like something that came together pretty thick. So we'll talk about that, and then we're going to get into this other new stuff that we got. So let's jump up to the board. Kazi, you got anything you want to throw in? I've been filibustering. I'm tired. Let me drink and you talk.
No, not at all. I've been.
Oh, great! It's going to be a short drink.
Yeah, I think that was that by design, but no, we're gonna jump into it here. I mean, we're gonna show the documents, and I will let you know that with the short of amount of time that I had, because of things that were taking place, I got about 4 or 5 of the documents up, so we might have to fill them in as far as.
Oh, that's okay.
But
yeah, no, that's fine. Well, let's do a couple of shout outs.
And then
what's that?
Yeah, but before we start out, I do want to give a shout out because I just wanted to make sure my mic was good. But shout out to Yeezy and Jamar and Never Obey and Cypress Garden and Easy Boy.
Easy Boy 88 Sunny with the Chris Nassif,
here. January. Yeah. Everybody, I appreciate everybody. Gino being here tonight, Christopher Ball, and
39 knuckleheads
39,
tonight.
Yeah,
we're doing good.
Last week we had 59, so we may get to 59 here soon. But regardless,
good.
The show must go.
That's right. Well, and what's amazing to me, and I'm actually seeing it in our analytics, and guys, so the impact you're making by keeping coming back for us, and I agree. Big J21. Nobody. Too bad nobody goes to trial for perjury anymore. Yeah, it's true, huh? The big thing that I say this time and time again, we can't do it without you guys. We just cannot do it without the knuckleheads showing up and being on the show and giving us something to participate against. It'd be kind of boring if it would just be me and Kazi talking back and forth, but we get your interaction. It makes sense. Now, what we've noticed from the analytics is that we're seeing a lot of people that are picking up the live streams later. They're watching them later. They're watching the replays of the live streams. It's kind of the same thing with the podcast. They may not get it the day that I do it, but they'll get it a couple of days later, and they'll watch it when it's convenient for them. And we are getting a lot. We're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views, sometimes thousands of views on some of these, but later. They don't happen right away. So I don't necessarily consider the fact that we only, we have just our knuckleheads watching the show. We'll break out. The more subs we get, the more people that get notified about it, the more we'll break out. I'm going to ask JMix to try to open up some of his subs. He's got a channel. It's got 30,000 subs on it. It'd be nice to maybe he would do a promotional video just letting his subs know to jump over on our channel. There's probably a lot of people on his channel that kind of wonder what happened, and they don't even know that we're moving in this direction and we're flying under the radar with the knuckleheads. So we definitely want to make sure that we get that word out there to everybody, So thank you guys again. We could not do it without you. All right.
Did you want to begin with Kathy Scott's?
I do. Let me just run through some of the comments here, and let me do a little bit of catch up here because I always like to be interactive with everybody. Let's see here. Let's go through here. Gino Mooten, I said, man, shit is getting interesting. Damn straight. And we knew it would. That's probably the statement of the day. Dead Wrong, Randall Sullivan's book. If you haven't get it, QMax 21. If you have not got it, it's a great book. It's funny that he picked that title, which I think it's an ironic title. But I don't know that anybody gave Randall any advice on that because people have mockingly used that to explain his book, that his book was dead wrong. So, it's probably a title that maybe in retrospect, you can't pick the perfect title, but I wish that maybe he had called it maybe Labyrinth 2, probably would have been better.
It's equivalent to Unsolved.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. That's right. So anyway, that's the thing. So Whiskey to Don said, question, RJ, when they say alert person of interest, who do you think it could be? Well, Whiskey to Don, isn't that the question of the hour? I mean, the official answer on that is, I don't know, but I have my suspicions. I mean, the one thing you got to realize is that if they're that concerned that they've got some information out there that might alert a person of interest to, that might also conceal evidence or destroy evidence or tamper with witnesses, and that obviously means that somebody that's alive, okay, their person of interest is somebody that's alive, because dead people can't fuck around with anybody. That's at least I know anyway. They can't. But you know, and I don't, like I said earlier, I don't think it's Keith Davis, because he's an accessory. He's not even a main player on here. Okay, they're going after the big case of theirs, and it's a murder investigation. So I don't think anybody's going to be, you know, you were the third person in the car from the left and you spit on the side of the road and we're going to convict you because we found that out. You're a person of interest. I don't think that goes. So I think that the person that they're looking at is alive. And I believe one of two conditions exist. I believe that the person that they are concerned about tipping off either doesn't know that they're being investigated, doesn't know that they're a suspect, or doesn't have any reason to believe that that somebody believes they're a suspect, or the person that has done it has got away with it. Okay, it's kind of a branch off the first one, but it's either somebody who just wanders around every day thinking, oh, you know, nobody ever caught me, I got away with it. Or there's somebody who thought at one time maybe they were a suspect of interest and that the police lost interest in it, or time has gone by and nobody believes it, or it got leaked and everybody kind of spoiled it and maybe nobody believes it now. You know, again, if there's any evidence, I mean, let's take the confession letter, for example. What if there's evidence to support the confession letter other than some of the stuff that we brought up? What if there's real evidence to support the confession letter? And it's so far out in left field for you all to think that it might be true, that there might be some relevance to it. These guys might have been involved with it. But let's suppose for a minute Vegas might actually have real hardcore evidence that they collected 20 years ago. Now, I've said before, the confession letter it resurrected itself. It came back out of nowhere in 2014, 2015, right around that time, when Chris Blatchford gave a copy of the letter to myself, Russell Poole, and Sandy Rivera, who was an attorney for the Wallace estate. If that name doesn't sound familiar, she went with Russell and I. And this is something I don't know that anybody knows. We had an attorney go with us when we met with Chris Blatchford, and we went over the notes and the stuff that he had on the Tupac case. We brought an attorney with us for two really good reasons. Number one, we wanted to make sure if there were any legalities or anything that we needed to discuss with them, we had an attorney there that knew the subject matter. And Sandy Rivera definitely knows the subject matter. She is world-class super lawyer, okay? But the second thing is that we wanted to make sure we had a witness. If Chris Blatchford told us, hey, this is a smoking gun, I really think something happened, and then later he tried to recant it, we had a witness there, an attorney, an officer of the court who went with us, who would be able to testify to the fact that this guy said, you know what, this was too hot for me. I was going to investigate it, and then I kind of got nervous about it, or I didn't have time, or I was scared. And of course, Chris Blatchford never said he was scared about anything. But if he had said that, or said, you know what, I really think this is the thing, you guys really need to pursue this, I'll make myself available for that. And then let's say a month later, he gets the death row derangement syndrome and suddenly decides to clam up and not say anything. When that happens, okay, we had an attorney there because she would hear what he has to say, and she is a third-party witness. She's got no skin in the game other than to help us get to the bottom of what's going on. And that was a smart move. Russell and I brought in an attorney with us. Everybody thinks it was just RJ Bond and Russell Poole, and we called up Chris Blatchford on the phone. He told us a little bit about something, and we went down and we picked up this envelope, blah, blah, blah. No, it was a structured meeting, scheduled in advance, 2 hours long, brought an attorney with us as a witness. So going back to the confession letter, you say, okay, what if Vegas has something on the confession letter? First off, you think they're going to give it to a guy like Greg Kading? Hell no. You think they're going to give it to the LAPD? Hell no. Why? Because these guys do nothing but leak. They do nothing but give up stuff. They do nothing but turn out and spoil evidence that does anything to take away from whatever narrative they want to push. Okay. And yes, they want to distance Tupac and Biggie away from each other because of the whole Biggie thing with the cops. They want that to be separate. They don't want them to be tied up together because it keeps the same players involved. There's a lot of dynamics to what is going on and what they're doing. But the big thing is that if they do believe that, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying they do, but let's say they might. If they do, they're not going to let you know that 15 years ago, they collected some evidence on Malcolm Patton. Or 15 years ago, they got some surveillance tapes of the MGM and they saw Malcolm Patton at the MGM, or they saw Danny Patton at the MGM. Okay. Or there was a parking lot garage camera that saw Danny Patton getting into a car. Okay. Yeah. I'm not, and again, not saying they did. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. I'm not saying they did. But if Vegas allegedly had anything like that, they're not going to let these guys know. They're not the LAPD, and they're not kidding, and they're not going to just blurt some crap out because they laugh at it. It doesn't fit their narrative. It's confirmation bias. They believe a certain thing, and if it doesn't fit what their narrative is and what they believe, then they throw it out. They don't keep their mind open. They don't look for alternative theories. They don't look for alternative explanations. So Vegas, again, could be sitting on that, and that was what that was there. So Whiskey Don, I hope that helps answer that question. That was a very long answer to that question, wasn't it? Holy crap, man! I really burned up some time on that one. Did you fall asleep?
There's a comment on the board. I'll read it to you just so you can respond to
Yeah.
it. Kind of make it quick, because I think it would be a quick answer because I think you've already.
Fuck, man, I don't do
1,000
anything
times.
quick these days.
It was an Orange County sheriff working security for death row who refused to cooperate. That was directly behind the car when it got shot up. I think they were alluding to Frank Alexander not cooperating. You want to shed some light on that?
Oh, so okay. So this is Lyrical Abyss. Welcome to the show. And if anybody I missed, I'll go back and do a recap for just a quick second. There was an Orange County sheriff working security to death row who refused to cooperate. Well, I can tell you, if you're alluding to Frank Alexander, he wasn't an Orange County sheriff. He was an Orange County jailer. He worked for the sheriff's department, but not as a sworn officer. He was a jailer. He worked at the jail. And so that's two completely different kinds of positions there. And somehow it's gotten tied up that he was with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and that unfortunately that wasn't the case. But if you're referring to Frank Alexander is probably one of the most cooperative witnesses that they had. He and Brent Becker were friends up until the day that Frank Alexander died. Brent Becker actually signed off on Frank Alexander's concealed carry permits. Brent Becker swore in the concealed carry permits that Frank Alexander's life was at risk and he had to have a concealed carry weapon because he felt like his life was at risk. And Brent Becker actually signed on that could be very true. Okay. To me, that's another big thing right there. They wouldn't give Frank Alexander a concealed carry permit. Okay. And Brent Becker wouldn't have signed off on Frank's concealed carry permit. And by the way, he did it year after year after year after year. I think it's every 2 years or so you have to renew your concealed carry permit in the state of California. And yet he'd have Brent Becker sign off for him every single time. Why? Because Brent Becker believed, because the cop's not going to do something he doesn't believe as far as if he's a legitimate cop anyway. Brent Becker put it out there to the state of California and to the sheriff's department when you go and you put your paperwork in for concealed carry that Frank Alexander's life could still be in danger. Now, if it's Orlando Anderson and Keith Davis, what the fuck problem does Frank Alexander have? Okay, guys, think. That's why at the end of these videos, I'm saying question everything. And knuckleheads, you guys should start your statement with question everything. Here's my question. Question everything, because if you got to ask the questions, because why would Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, an officer from them, yeah, sure, they're friends and all that, Frank Alexander's friends, which is amazing considering the fact that Frank Alexander lied to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and then he recanted his story a little bit later. So, it would be very easy for a guy like Brent Becker to say, well, this guy's a piece of crap because he lied to us to begin with. But they became very, very dear friends. And that was the reason we got the interview with Brent Becker for Tupac Assassination. It wasn't because Las Vegas Metro suddenly decided to let a reporter in their office to do their thing. And Brent Becker also did an interview for Frank Alexander's movie Before I Wake. Okay. So he definitely had that stuff there. So the fact that he was willing to put up and say that Frank Alexander's life was in danger, as sure as hell wasn't from Keith Davis, and it sure as hell wasn't from Orlando Anderson. Frank Alexander wasn't running around worried for his life about Keith Davis and Orlando Anderson. So if that gives you any glimpse at all into where Vegas might be feeling like the threat, if you want to call it that, is coming from, there is validity to that for absolutely sure. So that's the real, okay? Question everything. Question, especially nowadays when you got these guys coming on there, they just talk a bunch of stuff, telling stories. You can't confirm it, you can't deny it. It sounds funny, it sounds good, and it sounds like two nice guys talking. Question it, question everything. And that's what I'm starting to do now. I can't give you all the details on it, but I actually am going through and I'm going to start fact checking the hell out of a lot of these comments that have been just over the year and a half past have been made. I'm getting transcripts done. I'm looking at the transcripts of what being said, and I will start line item fact checking a lot of this crap, and we're going to put it out there because again, I'm tired of not of being quiet while the narrative. I made the mistake of thinking that if I was quiet, maybe other people would be quiet. Things would calm down until the next batch of information would come in, but that's not true. So, you know, they're hard at work, and we need to be equally hard at work to keep our side of things up. So that's it. And Yeezy says, I think Vegas already solved it, but they know what happened. Similar to the Biggie case, too many dirty cops involved, and they can't prosecute anyone because too many powerful people were involved. You know, Yeezy, I kind of think that a little bit. I don't want to discount what you're saying at all because, number one, I really like it. But number two, I value your opinion just like I value everybody's opinion here. I don't know. Dirty cops being involved might be part of it. But, I mean, there's certainly in the evidence that they didn't want to give out was a list of officers working that night. That's something that Vegas is not wanting to give up. It may just be for privacy reasons, but I think it's interesting that one of the documents they've chosen not to turn over is a list of off-duty officers that were working for other companies that night. So I think we get a lot of insight out of that for sure.
There may be a surprise coming soon regarding that, but I'll leave it at that because,
nice,
as usual, if I say anything that gives away a person's identity,
yeah, I know. Then you get the idiots you get the cockroaches that try to take it and run with it. So, yeah. So we play it close. So let's see. So let's go down here real quick. Let's see. Lyrical Abyss says, I don't think Vegas PD solved anything. No one cooperated. One of the bodyguards who was directly behind Tupac.
Well, that was
ABD.
That was a question you had answered, I believe, already about Frank Alexander.
Oh, yeah. He did cooperate, but then again, he was asked to lie by his boss at work. Reggie Wright asked Frank Alexander to lie. He told him, instructed him to lie, and Reggie admits that he instructed him to lie. Well, you know, that kind of, to me, throws all your credibility out the window when not only do you lie yourself, and then he's also talked about, he's made statements about how with the Orlando Anderson thing that they were paying Orlando Anderson to testify on Suge's behalf, that they were trying to settle all that. And, that, you know, I mean, you come back to your senses again and you say, okay, wait a minute. So let's see. You lied. You instructed your employees to lie. You paid other people to lie. And I'm sorry. And what part of those credentials make you suddenly a credible person 20 years later? Guys, figure that one out. Okay, let me say it again. You yourself have lied. You yourself have lied. Number two, you've instructed other people to lie. Okay, if it served your interest, you asked them to lie. And then the third thing is you paid people to lie. By your own admission, you paid people to lie. And everybody thinks that he should get a free pass for all of that. Okay, that somebody should get a free pass for being a liar. You lie, you tell other people to lie, you do that, and you wonder why anybody treats you credibly now? I mean, really? Yeah, let's just believe the guy who, you know, lies about everything. Oh, that was back then. I don't do that anymore. Yeah, sure. Okay, sure. I don't do that anymore. You know, that was the old me. I've changed. Okay, maybe. You know, hey, people can change, right? You know, Paul got scales on his eyes on the road to Damascus. So, you know, maybe the scales fell off eyes and now you're a saint. But let's just be honest. Don't expect anybody that has any real journalistic integrity, but to not to question you, but then to ask for something else that would actually corroborate what you have to say, like a document or something else or another person that might have to say there. So anyway, what's up, RJ from Australia? Kudya, what's happening? Is it Kudya or Kudya? I don't know. Kudya, would you, should you? I don't know. Maybe that's your name. But welcome to the show for sure. Ba 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 ba. Omax or QMax21 says my first live, loving it. Come back for more. Tell your friends. This is the place where it's happening. And we're talking about some real shit here. I mean, we're not just rambling about what rap artist we know. We stay focused on what's important. And what's important is a social injustice that was done, the life of two men who were taken, that everybody seems to be jovial and joking about on their shows. They don't respect it. We respect it. Yeah, we can make jokes out a little bit, but I don't see them trying to move the needle down anymore. I mean, or using all of that bandwidth that they have as podcasters or broadcasters or whatever the heck you want to call their show. I don't see them doing anything to try to get more evidence about things to get that. I mean, they're saying it's case closed. Okay, well, then that should be pretty easy to prove. If it's case closed, show whatever their evidence you have other than just what you think or what somebody might have said. So that's what the that's the deal with that. All right, so now, okay,
to
having
your point, sometimes I think that, and I listen to some of these podcasters talk about Tupac, and sometimes I wonder if they really have a genuine love for him, because you mentioned, I I I've seen people laugh and joke about certain things that I don't think that are worthy of joking about. So I'll leave it at
well,
that.
that just goes to the my kind of mindset about, well, some of these people are pieces of shit, because anybody who can, just bounce it off and act like it's no big deal that, you sold drugs and people's lives may have gotten ruined as a result of it, or went broke, or they mortgaged the house, or gave away their money for it, and may have died because of it. And you think that's something to fucking joke about. I don't. And I guess that's the biggest thing. I don't see 1 ounce of remorse from any of these guys about anything that they've done. Not one. You know, I don't see it. Reggie occasionally, claims, although I don't really see remorse from him about it. But this guy died on his watch, and again, like I said, I'm not trying to bag on the guy, but the reality is, he died on his watch. The fact that they're joking about it and they're making light of it, and not trying to, they're trying to glorify it to more than what it really should be. I don't respect the organization. I don't respect. And I'll put it out there. I don't respect Death Row Records. I don't necessarily respect Suge Knight. I think those guys made a lot of really bad decisions, and I think their bad decisions affected a lot of people adversely. A lot of people got hurt because of those people, and they did a lot of illegal things. And and they can sit there and be proud of it all day. Maybe they're just more proud that they got away with it. But then why again should I not turn my attention to people of that character and say, why not? Why not? Because, clearly you've given me nothing of salvation, no reason to believe you wouldn't be above it. Okay. So why would I necessarily sit there and say, oh yeah, sure. Can't be that guy. No, it doesn't work. So anyway, all
All right,
right.
you ready to give?
So
You ready to give the community
let's
what
roll
they
with
came
this.
here
Yes,
for?
we've gone way over, but let's roll. Yes, let's roll with it. All right. So we're going to talk about the new Bombshell. And that's what y'all tuned in for, not to hear me sit and rant and rave about things. We're going to talk about the new Bombshell that we had, and it is a good one, guys. Okay, if you're recording, turn on your recorder now because it's a good one. All right, Kathy Scott. Let's talk about what Kathy Scott had to say. This is involving now. We're going to talk about the shooting a little bit. As everybody knows, the night that Tupac got shot, they were leaving from Suge Knight's house in a big entourage, a big caravan, drove down Las Vegas Boulevard, down the strip, and they made a right-hand turn on Flamingo, and they traveled, headed east on Flamingo. They got stopped at the stoplight at the intersection of Koval and Flamingo. Shots rang out. Tupac was shot. Suge was grazed, had some glass hit his head or something like that. He got injured. And a white car of some make and model shot at him. There was 8 to 13 shots fired, and they made a right on Koval and took off. Okay. Now we've accounted for, and I wished I could put the star diagram we had up in Assassination. We've accounted for the cars that were in front of Suge Knight. We've accounted for the cars that were behind Suge Knight. We are accounted for the cars that were beside Suge Knight, as in the ladies in the Sebring that were there as well. So they were on one side of it, and we got three sides of that done. And the fourth side, of course, was the Cadillac, or the white car. I shouldn't say the Cadillac because I don't know it is a Cadillac. But at any rate, what they're commonly saying is a Cadillac was the other car that was inside the road. Now, what we don't have is any other explanation from anybody else. But what the common theory has been for the past, I don't know, Kazi, how many years has this been out there? I mean, at least 2002, right?
18, 19
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. So I'm going to read from Kathy Scott, who's clearly the best best and most accurate reporter of Tupac information about the killing, because heaven knows she worked for Las Vegas Sun and had the lead detective for the Tupac case living across the street from her at one time. And of course, because of that, she was talking to people, talking to cops all the time. And of course, she got the most accurate information out there. Sure. So she says, and I quote, "Some reports and LVMPD sources said members of the entourage immediately returned fire." This is after the car was shot, that they returned fire. "Although no other casings were found, police said revolvers may have been used." Well, okay, let's talk about that and set that aside for a second, because we talked a little bit on the podcast about that. But let's just roll with it for right now, okay? They had a Glock. Everybody knows it was a 40 caliber Glock, and suddenly they're going to go look for the other gun that was in the car that was the revolver to be able to shoot back, right? So anyway, she says, police say revolvers may have been used, which leave no telltale shells behind. Sergeant Manning admitted, and that's Kevin Manning, the lead investigator of the Tupac case. He admitted, "We did hear reports that gunfire was returned, but we were unable to validate it. There was no evidence." Suge Knight's camp, however, did confirm Roger Neckbone Williams and Trayvon Lane returned gunfire. A source inside Death Row said. "They weren't security," explained Right Way Protection Services owner Reggie Wright. "They were homies." Each was known to be associated with mob Pyrus. In addition, it's now known that the Cadillac was shot up and it was taken to Earthquake Sound on Alondro Boulevard in Compton, California, to have the bullet holes repaired before it was returned to the rental agency. Okay. Now, did you get all that? Okay. Let's break down what Kathy Scott said happened after Tupac got shot, immediately afterwards. Apparently, there was some shooting that was involved, although the police said they couldn't find any shell casings, so that must have been they used a revolver, because it must have really happened, right? Because they used a revolver, and suddenly just said, well, fuck the Glock, it's not effective. We'll give me that old 38. Give me that old cowboy 38. Bzzz, you know, that kind of thing. They went and scrambled for another gun, apparently. In the 3 seconds it took, they decided to change up guns. There was no evidence. Kevin Manning said it now, but whose name is being dropped as the source within Death Row Records? It was Right Way Protection Services owner Reggie Wright. He said they weren't security. Now, so where Suge Knight's camp came up with Neckbone and Trayvon Lane? Huh? Okay. Yeah. Well, Kudya's right. Now, Mob James and Reggie are saying it was Buntry who shot back. Okay, yeah, we'll get there. But anyway, that's what Kathy Scott said. So that was one version of the events. The next version of the events that we see comes from Greg Kading's book, Murder Rap. And now, do you have that one up, Kazi, or no?
No, I didn't put that one.
Okay, that's fine. So we're gonna, and we'll just go back to doing what we always do. We're gonna read what they said. As the caravan, this is what Greg Kading says. The lead investigator on the Tupac and Biggie cases for the LAPD. So clearly, if Kathy Scott missed it, and I'm pretty sure she didn't miss anything. If Kathy Scott missed it, then I'm sure Greg Kading, the crack investigator of the LAPD, he probably didn't miss it either. He says, as the caravan turned down Flamingo Road and stopped for the light at Koval, the caddy moved up until it was parallel with the 750. That's the BMW. I thought we was going to pull up on my side, Keefe D continued. Now, this is now suddenly lapsing into a poorly written conversation between Keefe D and Greg Kading, and they changed from the third-party narrative to the first-party narrative right in the middle of the same paragraph, which is really weird. But Keith Davey says, I thought we was going to pull up on my side, Keefe D continued. So you were fixing to blast if you had to, I asked. Now, we're in the first person. This is Greg Kading asking him. If we would have been on my side, I'd have blasted, he said. So you handed the gun to the back seat, Greg Kading said. Yeah, I gave it to Dre, but he was like, no, no, no. And Lane was like, give it to me. and popped the dude. That's what Keith Davis said. 13 shots later, Brown, Bubble Up Brown, I guess is who Kading is saying, accelerated into a hard right turn, followed by Ingrid Johnson and her girlfriends in the Sebring. Stupid bitches, Keefe D remarked, recalling that the women finally pulled to a stop. The caddy drove into a parking lot across from the carriage house. Scrambling from the vehicle, Keefe D stated Orlando hit the Glock in the right front wheel well of the caddy. They continued on foot back to the Monte Carlo. All right. So now Greg Kading is quoting Keith Davis and saying that after the shots were fired, they accelerated and made a hard right, followed by the girls in the Sebring. And then he made a remark about it. Now, show us what Keith Davis had to say about this all.
I have that statement up there.
Okay. The first shot skins Suge in his head. This is Keith Davis's own book, his own words. I thought that the MFer was dead. I heard stories that Suge supposedly used Tupac as a shield when bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded. He was the first one that got touched. Now, interestingly enough, how you would know that as the car was driving by, I'm not really sure. But that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded. He was the first one who got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so that I wouldn't get hit. Now, you know what also happens when you duck down? You can't see. Okay? When the shooting stopped, we boned out, and a white Chrysler Sebring full of young ladies was following us. Good language. Good choice of English. Their window quickly got shot out, so they stopped. The interesting thing to me was with all of them rough-ass niggas they were supposed to have had with them, none of them did a damn thing and tried to come after us. But there were a lot of shots let off in both directions. Okay? Now, so Keith Davis now goes on past what Greg Kading says about it, and not only mentions the girls in the Sebring, but then suddenly says that the girls in the Sebring, that their windshield got shot out. Okay? So we got a lot of information out here. We got Kathy Scott, Greg Kading, QBD, and many others. And I think he said, yeah, now it's Buntry or whatever, okay? Because they had a hole, there was apparently a bullet hole in Buntry's Supra, in the back of Buntry's Supra. So we'll talk about the magic bullet in a minute. But, this is, like I said, that's part of the reason I'm back in it again, because this stuff just gets so spun out of hand. But the thing that we have that we want to bring into the thing. Now, what do all of these people have in common? I would argue Keith Davis, but, you know, we'll say maybe he was there. I don't know. I don't think he was, but maybe he was. But Greg Kading, not there. Kathy Scott, not there. Reggie Wright, not there. Okay? Everybody else, Mob James, not there. Okay? Anybody else? Me, I wasn't there. Kazi, not there. JMKAZE, not there. Not there. Okay? We don't know what happened. We weren't there.
Well, RJ,
but
you were at the casino, right? You were at the casino. You had
yes. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that I was with Rob Castle at the casino. Not okay. All right, I was not at the casino. I was nowhere near Vegas in that time. But yeah, there's a lot of people who like to think I was, and along with Greg Kading and the whole cast. The whole cast of Gilligan's Island was there around Orlando Anderson when he got picked up.
We're gonna have a Royal Rumble before.
I mean, fuck, man. They'll tell you Elvis was there. Okay, Elvis was there with Orlando Anderson in Vegas. I mean, I would believe the Elvis thing more than I believe some of the other stuff because Elvis actually did spend a lot of time in Vegas. He just had to be alive. So, at any rate, we have these accounts of what happened. Two of the three of them are basically from people that weren't there. One of them arguably might have been there. Okay, well. Here's our news flash from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We have an interview of a firsthand witness that was there. And this is very cool because we talked about the person in front of Suge, the person to the left of Suge, the person behind Suge, and we talked about the white car beside Suge. What we haven't accounted for, however, was the car that was in front of the white car. And you say, huh? There was a car, picture in your head, when the white Cadillac or white Lincoln or whatever car it was, shot up at Tupac and Suge and took off to make a right-hand turn on Cobalt headed south. One thing the Vegas police has never let out, and by the way, you just read 3 accounts of the same thing. Did it ever mention anybody else there at all in that? that there was anybody in front of the Cadillac? No. But do you have it up there?
I don't have it up there, but I'm gonna put it up right now. Just wanted to let you finish your
Good.
thought there. So, it's actually gonna
Yeah.
be up right now. This is
We
actually the
have
first.
we have a an interview that was done by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department with the driver of the car that was in front of the caddy or the white car when it shot at Tupac and Suge. Now, to put this in perspective a little bit, this person was actually, because remember, everybody was stopped at Koval and Flamingo. And so what you can do in the right-hand turn lane is you can make a right-hand turn on a red light. That's the only time you really can do anything on a red light. You can make a right-hand turn. And you go, you make sure your coast is clear, you yield, but then you can take off and make a right-hand turn. She was actually in the process of making a right-hand turn, stopped, getting ready to make her right-hand turn, when behind her, the white car, shots got fired. Okay? So this is the person that they interviewed. And they said, whoa, how in the world did they get this person? How in the world did they figure out that there was actually somebody, traffic cams weren't around that much in those days. How did they figure out that there was actually anybody really that was any part of that thing at all? Well, here's what happened. Becker said to her, look, you contacted me on your own regarding the shooting and the ultimate death of Shakur. And she says, yep. And was there something that recently showed up in the press? Yes. This woman called in a year later, okay, because she read an article in the Las Vegas Sun written by who? Kathy Scott, that said Tupac's shooting 1 year later. So it was the 1 year anniversary of the shooting. And why did she call? Kazi, have you flipped it? Because I'm behind.
All right. So you already read the first document that was there?
Yes. Is there something recently showed up in the press? I said it was Kathy Scott.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see
Okay.
here.
And we'll get to your questions in a minute because I got to plow through this.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So she says she contacted me about it, and I got to just update it here. There it is. And why are you calling us? Vegas police said. She said she had a problem with the position of cars in the paper are not in the position that they were during the incident. And they said, okay. And what you brought in with you, which means she did a face-to-face interview. This wasn't done over the phone. This was a face-to-face interview. It was probably originally a phone call, but then it was a face-to-face interview where this woman came to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. This was not a crank call. This was not a random call that somebody just set up and Vegas police just recorded it on the phone line because they were taking calls and they might as well tape it and find out. This person came into the office because Brent Becker, who did the interview, says, okay, and what you brought with you is a copy of the Las Vegas Sun Sunday edition, September 7th, 1997, in which an article written by Kathy Scott titled Tupac 1 Year Later, and it's got kind of a little map showing the street and the cars. Is that correct? She says, right. So she brought in a copy of the paper, and amazingly enough, she dared to say that the article that Kathy Scott wrote was wrong. Big stretch there. I can't imagine why. So she says, that's right. And he says, and you recall being on Flamingo that night? And she says, yes. He says, and you remember this because of what? Some media reports later on about what happened there? Go ahead. Roll it to the next one. And she said,
you got it? It should be up there.
no, I think you jumped ahead one.
Go out of sequence.
Yeah.
Do you have it? Do you have it in?
But
do you
that's
have it in front of you?
what's. No. Well, actually, what I can tell you what it was. She said, I was in the car making the right-hand turn in front of the Cadillac or the white car, and you were wrong. The position of the cars is wrong in that picture. I was there. And they asked, and they said, was there anybody else in the car with you? And she said, yes, I had two people. Friends of yours? Yes. And they're reluctant to come forward also. And yes, they're Spanish. And I don't know they know how to come forward. The reason she said she didn't come forward, and it's in another slide, maybe we'll get to it, that she said the reason that she was afraid to come forward was because it was a year later, and she was afraid for her life. She was afraid. She came forward and she said something about one of the cars or gave any information that it might be dangerous for her. And don't think she was the only person that ever thought that. Okay. So it's true. But she says not only was she in the car, she had two other witnesses in the car with her. There were three people in this car, and this car was making a right on it. So he says, so which lane were you in that night? I was turning right, and I was the only car in the right-hand lane going south that would be going east on Flamingo and turning right on Koval Lane. I was the only one in the right-hand lane. And he says, okay, you're in the right-hand turn lane, which goes all the way up to the curb. Is that correct? And she says, did you get it?
Yeah, I just transitioned right now. So was that the correct one there, or
No, I'm still on the Spanish one. Hold on.
okay,
Go back. Go forward one.
okay, you're still on the Spanish one?
Yes.
Okay.
She says, I was turning right. Sorry, guys. We'll get this. The turn lane.
So where I'm
Car
at
with
is
you.
where
You have the same. You actually have the
where's
same
car?
picture up twice. You've got the same picture up twice.
Okay. All right.
So maybe just go to the next one.
If you want to just touch some points on there, I can go ahead and pull it up. Quick.
Okay.
Snip it real
Sure,
quick.
that's fine. Yeah, but go ahead. Go try to load the one. But anyway, so and we'll get there because we'll show you. This is the whole big thing. We do want to show you these things. She says, well, the position of the cars were wrong, and I was the only one there. What she then explains is that the white car, as she was making a right-hand turn, suddenly showed up because there was nobody in the right-hand turn lane. As she was making the right-hand turn, she was the only car doing it. She's about 4 car lengths back, which is about right. She suddenly saw the white car come into view, and the white car, she heard the shots. She didn't see the shots. She heard the shots because she was executing her right-hand turn. Now, so didn't see the shots, but then she said, and this is, I think, the most important part, that as she made her right-hand turn, the Cadillac came racing down. I'm calling it a Cadillac. You guys know how I feel about this. I'm just calling it Cadillac for lack of a better term. She actually thought it was a Cadillac too. The Cadillac came down there, executed a right-hand turn, and then took off like a bat out of hell. And she says that she was actually so afraid that the Cadillac was actually going to crash into her because they had just made a right. They're just tooting along, doing obey the speed limit. They don't know if somebody's going to get shot at. They make their right, and they start making that right-hand turn. And as they do it, the Cadillac races around the corner, and she says came within 2 feet of their car. Almost hit them, almost sideswiped them as they were racing to get by. She said the only reason they didn't get rear-ended was because she pulled off to the right-hand side of the road, like to get the hell out of the way, because they were clearly racing down the road. Okay, she said that they got to 40 miles an hour as soon as they were done with that turn, and they had to go slow because that's a sharp right-hand turn. She was very specific about the turn, and that they would have probably lost it if they would have actually tried to hit that turn doing 40. But they hit the turn slow and then accelerated like a bat out of hell. They were at 40 miles an hour within a car length or two of that intersection. So they just pedal to the metal, getting out of there as fast as they could. She moved out of the way with her witnesses. Okay. All right. Now, did you see the shooting or just hear it? No, I heard it. One of the persons in the car hit the floor, and I was trying to get out of there because I'm going right. Did you see what the shots were directed to? I saw it was a BMW, and this is what she says about the BMW. She says that it was interesting that the BMW was angled towards the car that was turning left. So the BMW was actually, and this is probably as a reaction of getting shot at, was in that position where once all the other cars cleared out of the way, Suge Knight could make a U-turn and get the hell out of there. But because they were blocked in, all he could do was just try to point his car away from the direction of the bullets. That would be instinctive, and make off towards the left.
RJ, I got
but
something
he's
up there that
yeah, I see it. It's good. It says, do you see the shots direct to you? She says, I see the BMW. Something was wrong with it. It was angled towards the car turning left. He said, okay, so it's angling to the left also. Yeah, could you see who was in the BMW? She said, no. Can you see anybody? No, I didn't even try to see anything in the BMW. I was just assuming. And then she heard the gunshots.
okay, I'm gonna
Can you get the card up there?
as you're talking there.
Yeah, is she getting to the talk about the where she was?
Let's see.
All right. Yeah. Huh?
It's coming up right now.
Cool. All right. I'm just, it takes me a minute to refresh. There it is. So it's England. Yeah. Could you see who's in the BMW? No. Could you see anybody? No, I didn't even try even to see anything in the BMW. I was just assuming maybe it was a car accident because I didn't know where the shots were going. So I just noticed something's wrong with the BMW. Being as it was in front of the kind of angled towards the car on the left and then turned. Okay. Using the diagram just for the sake of something to draw on. Show me where your car would be at the time you heard the shots. He says, I was about 4 cars back, and he says back here, and she actually is pointing to the intersection where the accident, where the turn was made. Okay. Do you have the next one up, Kaz, or am I going too fast?
Going a little too fast, but you could.
That's okay. That's all right. We're going to get to it. I mean, we'll give you guys all this colorful information, and then we read it, right? That's what we do. So we definitely want to sit there and say, okay, we got 4 cars back. She's making the right turn. She sees it. And like I said, they dang near killed her rushing around that corner. She was afraid for her life. They got the hell down and moved over to the side of the road to let him get down. And she could tell that that car flew by there. Okay. And you know what, Kazi, here's the thing. If people want to read it, we'll put it out there. We're going to put it up there. If you want to read this, you can read this yourself. We're not going to hide the ball here at all. But what we'll definitely do here is we'll put that up there. I'll save Kazi the time of hammering around. Here's the interesting point about it, okay? And you got to think about it now, guys. The woman that was in the car was in front of the caddy. The white car makes a turn, races past her to the point where she's got to pull over to the side of the road and gets within 2 feet of her vehicle, okay? What does that give you? That gives you a front seat show, okay? It gives you a front seat, front row seat for the show. And what's the show? Nothing. Nothing. She says the Cadillac screamed past. They waited for a half a beat to start to proceed forward after that car was gone, and they cautiously moved over and actually went to the left-hand side to make a left. And they went into a place, a bar or something right there, and pulled into the parking lot there. Okay. Here's the point, guys.
I got a new document up there for you, RJ.
Do you? Cool. Let me see what you got. Hit me.
I'm double timing it, trying to get these edited.
No, you're fine, dude. Hold on a second here.
Yeah, when they come in the
all right, in the corner of the south side was a Cadillac. I'm not sure where the Cadillac was. I can only tell you I thought the Cadillac did, and the lane I assumed it could have been in, and the way that I felt the Cadillac was probably not. It was probably next to the BMW on the red light. In other words, in the right-hand turn lane. Okay. She's very specific about what she saw. Okay, this is the point, guys. She gave a lot of detail. Now, this is a witness who came into the Las Vegas Police Department, went there with the article, said it was wrong, said I was a witness, penalty of perjury, said I was there. This woman has no skin in the game, okay? Why would anybody other than the fact that it was the right thing to do even bother to come into the police department just to correct them on the position of the cars? It's because the white Cadillac or the white car dang near hit her as it was racing past her. She had to pull over to the side of the road. But you know what she didn't see? No one gave pursuit. There were not shots flying all over the place, because if there had been shots flying all over the place, this woman talks about getting out of the way. Kazi, maybe you can pull that one slide where the part where she talks about that they got out of the way because the thing dang near hit her.
I got
okay, this is a woman. There it is. Okay, all right. I can tell you that I thought the Cadillac was there, and the way I felt the Cadillac was probably next to the BMW, the red light. He shot out on Koval, going right and passing about 2 feet from me, causing me to go over to the light and to the right and stop, get out of the way. And he was in that lane, and to dodge me, jumped into the other lane and continued down the road. At that time, I was seeing the Cadillac zoom out on the street. He looked to be going about 40 miles an hour. It would have been in the other lane when he punched the car to go that fast. He could not have made that sharp of a turn. He would have swerved into the other lane, not going straight towards me. So I felt the other car came out of the lane next to the BMW and him, almost hitting me. I had to stop. So now you have a car stopped on Koval, pointed south. Isn't that where the shooting was supposed to be happening? All this back and forth, bang, 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 between the shots fired and all the shots going back and forth, according to Keith Davis and Kathy Scott and Greg Kading and all these know-it-alls. This is all of it, right? All these shots rang out. Okay? No. She says nothing about it.
Got a new document.
She says,
RG.
okay. She actually says that she, and I don't want to jump ahead of it here. Oh, Lord. I always have trouble with my screens. I try to refresh everything, and I don't always get it in time because it doesn't refresh for me. A white Cadillac large, I thought it was an Eldorado. Okay. Then she says, do you see a license plate? I saw a California license plate, didn't get the number. Too bad for that. That was a missed opportunity, wasn't it? You know, when you say that when this car, the Cadillac turned on Cobalt, did you have to hit the curb or climb the curb, or you just got up against the curb? And she said, I just got up against the curb. She didn't have to climb the curb or jump the curb to get out of its way. But whatever the case might be, she clearly had to do it. Now, what happens when you get in a situation like that, where your instincts take over, your blood pressure goes up? These are survival mechanisms. She thought, she got out of the way because she thought she was going to get killed by this car. She got out of the way because she thought she was going to get hit by the white car. Okay. All right. So what happens then? Now, all of a sudden, your senses are on red alert because, my God, if there had been another car that had chased the white Cadillac and she got out of the way of the first one and then said, okay, coast is clear, and then moved back into the lane, she'd have gotten creamed by the car following the Cadillac. She'd have gotten creamed by it because she would have been pulling back into the same lane that she almost got run over in. Okay. But she didn't. She goes to mention that she remembers there was a siren. A couple minutes later, a couple police cars go by, but she does not say that any car gave chase. And I'm going to tell you that if there was a car that would have given chase, it would have been going just as fast. Supras are fast cars. If it was a Supra, Supras are fast cars, and you as a witness would have known. Excuse me.
All right, RJ.
That car. Okay. I got up against it and stopped immediately because he was coming too fast, so fast. We were shaking when we got out of the car because we thought for sure we were going to get hit. Went over to the left hand to go into the bar that's called, and she gave the name of the bar. Okay? But that is what the substance of this witness said. You have a, now, again, like I said, Kathy Scott, not there. RJ Bond, not there. Greg Kading, not there. Keith Davis, probably not there. JMKAZE, not there. Okay? A lot of know-it-alls trying to tell the story about that, saying that shots are fired. Reggie Wright, not there. Mob James, not there. Okay? Suge Knight, not there. Frank Alexander, not there. They were busy. They were doing other things. Okay? So, again, Trayvon Lane, don't know. Now, of course, he was accused by Kathy Scott of being one of the shooters. So, Trayvon Lane's statement to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police was that I ducked down. He says he got the fuck down. He just got out of the way. He hid. Okay? That was his statement. That was his involvement. He hid. Okay? But here is a person that has a front row seat to the event. According to this report in the Las Vegas police files, they interviewed a witness that was there, first-hand witness. So everybody else wasn't there. She was there. And what did she do? She came in to set the record straight like a responsible citizen would do, not to accuse blame. Notice she didn't say, well, I think it was this person or I thought it was that person. She didn't know who the hell it was. All she knew was that the traffic configuration was wrong, and that was important because the Cadillac or the white car dang near hit her, and they were afraid they were going to die because of that. Now, add gunshots to it. Okay? Yeah, she says, this Ellis Island? Yes, and I pulled into valet, and while I'm going, I get the ticket for the valet. I'm hearing a cop going down Koval in the same direction as the Cadillac. And so I think maybe 1 or 2 minutes after this happened, the cop was already down the road with flashing lights and sirens. So you would say you heard a cop, you heard lights and sirens. Yes. You saw the car go by? No, I didn't see the car go by because I'm in the aisle, parked valet, and I'm just getting out. So I'm hearing, and I see, hearing like the flashing. So I don't know if I turned around and saw it. I did hear a cop. I think I turned around and seen a cop. Okay. This was after she pulls into the parking lot. But the first thing that she does is pull over to the side of the road and stop. Okay. I promise you, in the amount of time it took her to make a left-hand turn and go into that parking lot, had there been gunshots flying back and forth, she would have seen it, okay? She would have known it. she would have been afraid for her freaking life because gunshots are flying back and forth like Keith Davis would. Keith Davis makes it to sound like the fucking Alamo. Everybody's flying gunshots, flying back and forth. You know, it's Custer's Last Stand, okay, the big shootout. You know what? First-hand witness account. No mention of a chase. No mention of a chase car. Not a single mention of any bullets there. And you better damn well know that if that person was there and all that happened and she had a valet ticket, that they could go and they could check out when she parked. There's probably camera footage from the place that they pulled into. This just stinks of legitimacy. Okay, this stinks of legitimacy. And she said it, came in, took the time to come into the Los, unlike all these other pieces of crap who go out there and lie to the cops and don't want to talk to the cops because of some stupid code that they have, that they're not supposed to be honest with the police and not talk to the cops or snitch or whatever the hell it is you want to call it, okay? This woman comes in and does the responsible thing. She's a responsible citizen, comes in and says, you know what? The reporter at the Las Vegas Sun, for some reason or other, got it wrong. I was there, and I can tell you the only reason I know that was because I was there, that this picture is wrong, and you guys need to understand that because he damn near hit me as they were making that right on Koval and taking off. There was no mention of gunshots. There were no mention of thing. And then she says, were they quick? Was it approximately 8 shots? Yes. Well, they were real quick. Yes, it was like an automatic. Was there any space between the shots? No. Just rapid succession. And then they ask, was there ever a time when there was one lone shot fired? Because that's actually another version of the story that's out there, is that somebody actually, Buntry or Trayvon or somebody, you know, jumped out of the car and shot at the Cadillac as it was making its way down Koval, and there was a single shot that was fired. Because that would explain the single shot in Buntry's car, right? Of course. Well, yeah, of course. And I never thought about it. Maybe there was this random person that decided to jump out in the middle of Flamingo and Koval, and as Buntry was giving chase and they were shooting at the Cadillac, that some idiot just jumped out of his car and said, yeah, let me jump in on the shooting, and shot a hole in the back of Buntry's car. I don't know. Okay, that's about as dumb as it sounds. But
I'll have one more document, but if you want, I can go ahead and just read the last page. And like you said, we'll
yeah,
post it.
do it.
The question from the investigator says, okay, and you will attempt to get a hold of those people that were in the car with you to see if they can get them to call me. Is that correct? And then she answers, right, I'll let you know something. And then question, all right, this statement is concluded, same date, 2:23 p.m., same people present.
Yep. So, excuse me. So I would say, and we said this in the podcast, I think according to the documents, and again, this is documents. This is people that, you know, this person that gave this witness statement isn't known to be a convicted felon, isn't known to be a liar, responsible citizen, came in and did the right thing, said that the thing was wrong. She was afraid. Makes sense. A lot of people were. Comes in and gives this thing. There is no reason to impugn the credibility of this witness. There is no reason to believe that this is not 1,000% exactly what happened, and 1,000% exactly what didn't happen, according to the witness that was there, was nobody gave any damn shots back. Nobody fired back. Nobody shot at anybody. The Cadillac didn't shoot at anybody else. And whatever car, if there was even a car that gave chase, that car certainly never shot back.
RJ, we got
okay?
another document up. This is towards the latter part of the documents.
About the wearing a hat?
Yeah.
Is this the one? Was there a time when there was one lone shot fired? Not that I know. Is there anything else about the car, about the white Cadillac, or the person in the Cadillac that you can tell me about? No, that's all the information I can give. Did you see if they were wearing a hat? No, they didn't wear a hat or any clothing color or anything like that. No. So she got close enough to see that they weren't wearing a hat.
Wasn't the lore
that she noticed
the lore that somebody was wearing a hat?
Yeah, that's one of the things you've heard around. And there's so much shit that it's always something new. But here's the deal: at the end of the day, bottom line, what out of all this question and answer, and we will put the unredacted question and answers up there. I won't say unredacted. We're keeping her name private. We're doing that. It was a stocking cap, Kazi. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a stocking cap. We might have called it a hat. Okay, but at the end of the day, here's what we have, and this is a bombshell. No one else has this. Okay, clearly no one else had this, because if there was certainly Anybody, Kathy Scott didn't have this, Greg Kading didn't have this. None of these people that have written these stories about it, they certainly didn't have access to this interview because, in all fairness, they probably would have mentioned that, like Kathy Scott said, well, amazingly, there were no shell casings, so it must have been a revolver. She's just assuming it happened, so it must have been a revolver. Okay, sure. But they would have mentioned this, that there was another witness that was there. And that, I mean, Kathy Scott did 3 revisions of her book. I mean, she had 3 chances to get it right. And in 2013, I think was the last revision. So certainly this thing would have been around. And for people to claim to have been talking to Vegas police and all that, they sure didn't catch this one coming, because this woman that was there was in the car that was in front of it, made it very clear. Almost ran me off the road. I had to pull over to the side, scared to death for my life. If there had been gunshots, if there had been a pursuit, if there had been anything else that had happened at all, she would have said something about it, because she was already there over what a lot of people would consider to be a technicality. And she didn't try to make it about anybody. And that's the most thing that makes this thing the most credible, is that she didn't try to make it about somebody. She didn't try to say, I saw Orlando Anderson in the car, or I saw a guy that was a light-skinned, face looked like a bitch. You know, they didn't try to pin it on anybody. The only reason she was there was to give the detectives facts about what she saw, why she said that the thing was wrong, and her personal experience with it, which wasn't, I was in the middle of a gang war, I was in this, and there was the Crips and the Bloods, and I could tell by the guys in the car that they were gangbangers and they had all these problems. No, it was, the guy tried to run me off the road. That Cadillac was going like a bat out of hell. I know it was, and the configuration was wrong. I think just on the virtue of the fact that she didn't try to make it about somebody or make it about a narrative, that she was just trying to correct the narrative and took the time to come to the police station to talk to them about it, I think that qualifies her as probably the most credible witness that you could have out there as far as eyewitnesses go and what they saw. Wouldn't you think, Kazi? Wouldn't that fit your bill?
Let me ask you a question. Is there anything from the document that you want to see on the screen again that I missed? I mean, I got the most salient points of the document.
I think that the most
secondly,
relevant.
The question I have
Yeah.
for you is that wouldn't you think that everybody that was there that night, every single person, maybe not every single person, but the people that had the vantage point to see this 1988 Ford Ranger truck, or even Keefe D for that matter, if he was in the car, don't you think that would have been mentioned, that they had seen a truck in front of them?
Well, yeah, even if they hadn't mentioned, it might have been inconsequential to them that they almost ran somebody off the road. Who knows? Maybe they drive like that all day. I mean, I see people on the LA freeways do that all the time, run people off the road. You know, you get out of the way because this car is jamming down there. Probably not the first time, but they made the point of saying that they were frightened. They were very scared. They thought they were going to get hit, and they're in a truck.
Right.
So you think about how fast that car must have been going. They're going to hit a truck, and these people were worried about the fact that they were going to get hurt. Now, a Ford Ranger is not a huge truck, especially in those days. I think that was the smaller version of Ford trucks, was the Ranger. But at the end of the day, the important thing isn't, again, what she said. It's also what she didn't say, what she also said. Is there anything else? Yeah, there was these guys shooting back and forth, and my God, we almost got hit by the car, and then there's another car that almost gets by, and if we had moved into the lane, we'd have gotten creamed by that car. And then they're shooting at each other, and oh my God, we were scared for our lives.
Right. So
that's what you would have seen.
There was a super chase. She would have mentioned that there was a fast car that came right behind
Absolutely.
the Cadillac in pursuit. She never mentioned that.
Absolutely.
I don't believe it ever happened. I think it's just folklore. And then
Right.
and
this
touch
is
on the bullet. Touch on the magic bullet, please.
I will, but this is why I say, guys, question everything. Jamar Hatton, question everything. Death Row East, question everything. I don't know if Gaddafi said that or not. We'll look to be sure. Okay. Yeezy, question everything. Knuckleheads, question everything. Okay. Don't just assume that because somebody you think was in a position of authority told you something that it's true. I don't care if 50,000 people said it's true. It doesn't mean it is. You have to have evidence. You have to have something else that's there. And to blindly accept that somebody gave chase and there was a shot fired or shots fired back and forth. When you see this is what Vegas knows. They know shit that you don't know. They know shit Kathy Scott doesn't know. They know shit that Greg Kading doesn't know. As much as they would like to think that they know everything Vegas cops know and that there's such an easy read, grand juries later and everything else, that Vegas is fucking just sitting around jerking off all the time. They're not. Okay. These guys were interested in solving a crime. They were interviewing witnesses that were there. People came forward. They didn't have to go seek out everybody. Responsible citizens came forward to put it straight. But the other thing is, you have to question it. Just because Keefe D says there were gunshots fired. Well, now what does it make of Keefe D's story when you've got somebody that completely, completely debunks that? Completely debunks it and says nothing about a car chase, says nothing about it. Make sure she, damn near hit, and now has a front row seat to all the activity that happens immediately after she pulls over to the curb. If gunshots were flying, she'd have said something. If there was a chase car, another car going just as fast as that car, she'd have said something, because that's what they were looking for. They didn't want to get hit. So you stay out of harm's way, Poop Shoot, welcome to the show. Great name. We actually showed the Keith Davis thing. If you want to throw that slide up there for a minute, Kazi, if you want to throw the
Keith. And I do have make a comment. Isn't there a recording of Mob James saying that there was never a chase?
What's that? Say again? Yes. Yes,
there
and we can't play it because we don't want to get copyright struck. I'll make sure we put it on the podcast next week. Mob James was one of the few people that said that there was not a chase. Reggie Wright swore up and down there was a chase and tried to convince him that there was a chase and tried to basically change his mind on the show live time about it, and finally just said, okay, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I would have loved to.
That's how. That's when Reggie when somebody
copyright struck. So that's my reluctance to put anything on the show. But
yeah, because these guys are sitting around waiting to copyright strike us. They're waiting to do anything they can to dox us. They're waiting to do anything they can to try to make our lives miserable because they think that our silence indicates that they're going to get away with the bullshit that they're getting away with. But see, the good news is that because we have citizens that come forward and provide this, and we have law enforcement agencies that are actually out there protecting the identities of witnesses and not leaking shit. Okay, I can't say that strongly enough. That these guys are out there doing the work, talking to the people. This witness statement completely contradicts all of the people that weren't there and just said whatever was the popular folklore at the time. Okay, and that's just unfortunate that they had to be there. So Yeezy said nobody ever mentions a truck being there and being rushed off to the curb. No, of course not. No, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It's the wonderful thing about making up a story. You can be as vague with it as you want to be. The minute you got to start providing details for it, that's when you get into trouble because one person's details can be different. But you can be vague about it all day. Okay? So, excuse me. KVD said that. Poop Shoot, I hope you see it right there. Yeah, Reggie was sure on Vlad TV that Buntry was shooting back. Sure, of course. No. Why do they say that they think Buntry shot back? Well, this is kind of the most fun for me, is that because they saw that there was a bullet hole, allegedly, there was a bullet hole in Buntry's Supra. Now, I don't know where the bullet hole, if there was a bullet hole in the back of Buntry's car, in the back of the Supra, I don't know where it came from, okay? And nobody else seems to know where it came from either. But they're pretty sure that it came from the chase when the Supra was chasing the Cadillac, and there was shooting that went back and forth.
Was he driving backwards, RJ?
He must have been the best backwards. Well, no. Listen, first off, yeah, I'm not the master of physics. I didn't teach physics at MIT. I'm not a physicist. I have a hard time understanding why gravity works for some people and not for others. And I know that age is the only thing that goes up when the rest of you goes down. But I can certainly tell you that unless Buntry was the world's greatest backwards driver, a shot from the Cadillac or the white car headed towards Buntry's vehicle does not make a U-turn and would hit the back of Buntry's car. It is a physical impossibility according to the laws of physics as we know them, that if a white Cadillac that was traveling at a rate of speed of 40 miles an hour plus was being given pursuit by a Supra, let's just put it out there and say that maybe that's what happened. Okay, then if you're shooting from the Cadillac, it's going to go backwards behind the Cadillac, and it's going to go in the windshield, the front headlight, the hood of the car, the rearview mirror, maybe on the side of the car, maybe even the side of the car. But unless it's like the JFK magic bullet that suddenly went down Koval and turned and said, I don't like Flamingo, I'm turning around. And it comes back and puts a hole in the back of Buntry's car. That's a bunch of horse shit. Okay? That was a bunch of horseshit. Yeah, the back windshield. Yeah, there you go. That's even better. The back windshield. So now you got the magic bullet. I mean, guys, that's why I say question everything. That doesn't even stand up to the dumbest of. Draw a picture, man. Be like a third grader. I mean, you know, I could sit here and draw a picture, and I could say, okay, here, RJ's picture time. Here's the caddy. Here's Buntry.
So the folklore is that it went through the front windshield and hit the back windshield, or hit the front windshield and made a U-turn and hit the back of the.
No, it hit the back of the car. There was a bullet hole in the back of the car. Now, I could hold this up here, okay? Now, okay, look at this diagram, okay? People, if you're going in this direction, and this is the car, this is the Cadillac, and this is the car giving chase, this car shoots this way. The car doesn't shoot this way. If the car shoots this way, then the bullet has to turn around and go back the other way to hit the back of this car, right? Make sense? Okay? That's why I say question everything, because the lunacy and the idiocy of this stuff, when it really comes out and you really look at it, okay? Oh, of course, yeah, it's really blurry, huh? Not in very good focus either. Sorry, guys. I just saw that. It wasn't a very good focus. Maybe, I don't know, hold on. Want to see the picture again? Maybe I can make sure it's in focus.
It's still unfocused, but I think people.
Focus. Okay, what about there? There you go. Okay, see, there you go. Better. Now, you're going in this direction. You shoot. They shoot this way. They shoot this way, but if they shoot this way, it goes in the front of the car. It does not go around and make a U-turn and come in through the poop chute. Sorry, poop chute.
The witness said she didn't hear a singular shot. She said she heard 8 shots.
Yeah, there was no shots. Okay, didn't even see a car giving pursuit. Okay, and would have said so because again, the minute that Cadillac or a white car went by, she says. They very cautiously got out of that right-hand curb and crossed 2 lanes to get into the left-hand turn lane to go make a left cross Koval into the bar. Because, you know, heaven knows an incident like that, you probably need a drink anyway. So they go into that bar, but if she had managed to start thinking, okay, the coast is clear, boy, that car was an asshole, they almost hit us. And then they start to make their turn and they go into left lane, guess who's going to come up and just cream them? The car given pursuit, okay? And if there had been a car given pursuit, at minimum, or even worse, gunshots back and forth, she would have said something about it. It's pretty clear. So, you know, yeah. Reggie said back windshield. Well, kind of, like I said, question everything, okay? Question everything. This is what Vegas police know that Reggie doesn't know, that I didn't know, that you didn't know, that they know, and probably why when they hear nonsense like there was shooting that happened, you know, and that it was in the back windshield of the car from the magic bullet. I mean, come on, guys. I think at this point, with the witness statement, with the information, with the laws of physics, I think we can pretty safely say that the whole notion of the shootout after the shooting is a bunch of horse shit. Okay, it's another legend that's been cooked up by a bunch of people that want to tell a really colorful tale and want to give credence to themselves, to the gang, you know, the gang people or the people that think it's, you know, they stepped up and they represented for their group, that they went out and they gave chase to it. And okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, first off, let's get straight who gave the chase. It wasn't Trayvon Lane, I don't think. You know, it wasn't anybody, but first it was Trayvon Lane, and then it was Neckbone, and then it was Buntry, and they can't even figure out who gave chase. But at the end of the day, the shooting of Buntry's car happened a mile down the road. A mile down from what? She didn't even say there was a car giving chase.
Right.
Okay? That Cadillac was gone. Okay? And by the way, a mile down the road, I'm not even sure, we can check on a map. I don't even think Koval goes another mile before it runs into the airport. Okay, so unless they're saying that they were doing the shooting from an airport, and that'll probably be the newest thing that comes out. That'll be the modified version, kind of like the Lakewood Mall thing. It constantly evolves depending on we come up with new information that discounts it or debunks it, so they got to change the story. Well, that's not really what we said. We really said it was really this, and it was really oh well he didn't get beat up inside the Lakewood Mall like Keith Davis said. We didn't get beat. Oh no, it happened out in the parking lot outside of the mall. Why? Because we said, well, gee, it's a mall. Maybe they have security cameras. Store manager, security at the mall probably would have taken some photographs. Probably would have been some evidence there. Could have been some incident reports. Foot Locker corporate probably got a letter from the general manager. I don't even think there was email back then. Maybe got a memo or a fax that said these guys came in and tore up our store. We got all these broken fixtures. Some of the stuff got broken or ripped. We need new fixtures or furniture, and we need the guys to come out and do the remodeling. Okay? Seriously. Okay? That's why, to make sure that nobody can fuck with that anymore, then they changed the narrative to that it happened outside in the parking lot outside of the whole mall. So that way it could happen and there wouldn't necessarily be any witnesses, no mall security, none of those other things that would be kind of an after effect of the of an altercation that would happen inside this Foot Locker store. So that's what we have there. So okay, so let's go back.
Yeah,
Let's go back.
while you're scanning there for question, and just so that everybody know in the chat room that RJ is going to put up full video of the full interview so that you get a better context. And I apologize for not being able to get everything to you. Just had to
Yep.
double time it, but he'll get you that video and you'll be able to
Yep.
see a little more of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. And I think there's a lot of Big J21 said I believe Murder Rap book, but not until after the documentary came out on Netflix. Okay. Yeah. I think there's a lot that could be said about that. Whiskey to Don said if Vegas did a gunshot residue test on all the caravan, they would know right then if anyone fired back. Well, again, yeah, if they were willing to cooperate. I've got another video of Brett Becker talking about, being told to lie and the liars that were there. It wasn't just people not saying anything. Let's get our facts right. They were lying to the police. They were told to lie to the police by people who find it very easy to lie when it's convenient. Okay? That's who they were told to lie by. People who found it very convenient. And this weird ass code that says you're not supposed to snitch on everybody, but lying is okay. Again, you have to take me on a morality chart to show me how that all kind of plugs together. Okay? The inconsistency and the hypocrisy is just something fierce. And again, I don't need to be taken on a morality lesson by anybody who's been convicted of crimes and convicted of felonies. I don't need to be given a morality lecture on them and how wrong of a person I am. That's for sure. Let's see here. Okay, so going back here real quick. Yeezy said, I personally think she and the two Spanish witnesses did see the members in the Cadillac. She only wanted to make it clear to Vegas PD what happened, but didn't want to tell about the shooters. I think that could very well be true. And I think if you read the statement there, I think that she might have still been a little scared and a little evasive to identify people. But that's what makes the credibility even better, is because she wasn't trying to pin the tail on the donkey. She wasn't trying to say, this person did it. I saw these people in the car. Now, would it have been helpful if she had? Sure. And maybe somehow we can track her down and maybe we can talk to her now about it and see what she says. I mean, there's still people that are very afraid of what happened there. They still don't want to testify about it. So we'll see if perhaps we can, try to track this person down. You don't know who it is. We know who it is. So maybe we can, Kazi, you and I can put our heads together and maybe I can turn you on to that. She has something of a common name, so it's tough to maybe get her. But
Yeah.
well, we'll try.
We'll
try.
For sure. I mean, like I said, I got the other one lined up. That's going to be pretty interesting. But as you said, the apprehension from the people. When I talked to that individual, their handler actually, he said that the person was a little apprehensive of talking because he just didn't really want to get his name involved in anything and open up any old wounds, so to speak. And anyways, I'm still kind of working on that, trying to convince him. And I think I'm pretty close to getting him to do the interview. It's just
good.
He's afraid of backlash and just his name because of the position that he carried at that time.
Yep. So nobody ever mentions a truck being rushed off to the curb. That is absolutely true. Um, Christopher Winsky, welcome to the show. Says, can someone talk about the brief altercation in the Tyson fight inside the arena with the Crips and Death Row before the Orlando Anderson beatdown? What was said? What happened? Okay. I don't directly know of Christopher Winsky. I don't know anything directly about that. I'm not sure what you're referring to there because, and I'm not saying that something didn't happen. It may peripherally have happened. But what's interesting to me is that I basically followed the narrative that followed Tupac. So in other words, maybe there was something else that went on, but I've been followed the narrative that took Tupac with Trayvon Lane. Trayvon Lane whispered something in Tupac's ear and he took off running. So I'm not sure if there was a precedent set there that there might have been some other. Kazi, do you know anything about that?
Sorry about that. What was that again, RJ? I was reading the chat.
Um, no, it's okay. Christopher Whiskey says, can someone talk about the brief altercation in the Tyson fight inside the arena with the Crips and Death Row before Orlando Anderson beat down? Was that said and what happened? I haven't
Never
heard
heard that
anything
before.
about any kind of altercation.
Never heard that before. I mean, if you go
No.
based off of Keefe D, basically, well, there's two sides. Okay, if you go by Keefe D, he says that in his book, which he doesn't really know all the details, but anyhow, he says that Suge and himself were cool, and they pretty much shook hands, and everything was kosher. And then the next day, you hear interview from Mob James. He says that the beef was on, and they knew they were coming, and they were ready for a war and all this other jazz. And so it contradicts what Keefe D says about the day before. So I've never heard that before, that there was an altercation before that, and no, never.
No. Well, and I'll take that a step further. Christopher Winsky, thank you for your question too, by the way. We're glad that you're here. Um, Frank Alexander was with Tupac the entire time at the fight. They was with Suge and Tupac. They had to wait for Suge to bring the tickets, and they came in. I mean, we recreated it for Tupac assassination. We recreated I think it was part two. We recreated the scene where Frank was in front of the casino and the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and was waiting for Suge Knight to show up with the tickets, and Pac was upset, and he was pacing back and forth because he was waiting to get in. They went in. I'm sure if there had been an altercation between the Crips and the Bloods, Frank Alexander was the bodyguard that was there with Tupac, and he would know everything else that was going on there. I'm sure that in the last 10 years, up until Frank died, I'm sure I would have heard something about that from Frank. I've never heard that from Frank. I don't anybody else has heard that from Frank. And I would say that Frank Alexander would be the most reliable witness to explain if there was an altercation. Of course, now if it happened on the other side of the arena or the other part of town in the cheap seats, and maybe it was nowhere within eyesight of Frank Alexander, he may not have known that it happened, and it still could have happened. I don't know. But I have heard nothing about that, so I would be very leery to believe that, because anything, these guys will put out anything and tell any story, provably tell any story, whether without any regard of whether or not it's false or not. They will put out any false story out there because it helps build the narrative. Because again, if there's a pre-fight fight between gangs, Crips and Bloods, and then later on Orlando Anderson gets in a fight, I don't know. Is that like saying Orlando Anderson stole the chain earlier that day? I mean, that's what it comes down to. You just have to be careful of these random narratives that have no point other than they're a story, and the story happens to conform to a narrative. And again, just like the lady, and this is why I say the lady in the Ford Ranger was one of the most credible witnesses, because she didn't try to give a testimony that fit a narrative. It wasn't like her testimony and she went in and gave her interview. It was clear that she hadn't been put up to it by anybody. She came in because she wanted to do the right thing. If she'd been put up by somebody, she would have said, oh, yeah. They said, you see anybody in the car? Yes, I did. I saw Orlando Anderson in the car. Well, how'd you know it was Orlando Anderson? He looked like an Orlando Anderson. Okay. And he had the face of a bitch. Okay. So I think that the fact that she wasn't put up to it, I think, says so much about it, and she wasn't trying to cast aspersions on who did it. Okay. So Yeah, no problem, Chris. I hope it did answer your question. And again, all are respected here. All questions are welcome. We try to knock them out as best we can. I don't want you to ever feel, or anybody that asks any questions feel belittled or talked down to in any way, shape, or form. We definitely want to get the information out there, and I'm loving to hear if you've got something to add. I think it's fantastic, and we do call it out there. So,
Yeah,
uh,
everybody's welcome here. I know, despite you go to some other channels and they don't like what you say, they kick you out really quickly. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's welcome.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I would have to look to see. I could check my Google Earth in about 5 minutes and tell you that I think that I'm pretty darn sure that it's not even a mile from Flamingo that Koval turns either into the airport or goes right next to the airport property. I'd have to double check on that, and of course, I'd have to go back to what it looked like in '96 because it doesn't look the same right now, and that's another reason these guys get away with it because they start telling you things that are current now, but Vegas looked a lot different 20 years ago. Looked a lot.
Another piece of the document is up. I don't think that we read or you read actually.
Well, she said, I'm just going right. Did you see? Oh, wait, no, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Hold
Yeah,
on.
it's
Is that the
starts
one?
off with, "Did you see the shooting or just hear it?"
Hear it. She said, no, I just heard it, but one of the persons in the car hit the floor, and I'm trying to get out of the area because I'm going right. Yeah, of course. You're gonna stay. You're a gunshot. You're gonna get the hell away from it. Okay. But then she suddenly slams over and went to the right hand side and pulled over to the side. Okay. Now she stopped. So the car goes by, anybody chasing her would have gone by, and she would have said, you know what? Yeah, that car came by, and I'm really glad that I stayed on the side of the road because another car came right after it and was chasing it, and they were shooting at each other. Okay, well, it didn't happen. Okay, so again, another one kind of like the Lakewood Mall thing where, you got a lot of people telling a story, but if you really ever try to pin them down, okay, you get that. So, Brent Becker, I think Brent Becker is retired now. I don't think Brent Becker's going to write a book. Anybody could, just like Kevin Manning could have written a book. Kevin Manning retired many years before. Kevin Manning was extremely frustrated by the whole investigation because of all the liars. Kevin Manning did not like the fact that no one could give an accurate description of the vehicle. The only reason Frank Alexander said it was a Cadillac is because he said he saw the fins on the back. This woman also said she thought it was a Cadillac because she, quote unquote, saw the fins. Okay, well, Lincolns have fins too. Okay, and the girls in the Sebring said it was a Lincoln. One of them said it was a Lincoln. Okay, so again, it's really tough to nail those down. But again, Kevin Manning was frustrated with the whole thing. He didn't like the death row people. He didn't like the way things were handled. He didn't like the way they were answering questions. He didn't like the way Suge Knight didn't show up for 3 or 4 days, and then armed with a bunch of attorneys just to do a witness statement. There was a lot of things about the investigation Kevin Manning did not like because Kevin Manning was a real kind of a hard ass, kind of the cowboy side of Vegas, not the mob side, but the cowboy side of Vegas. He was more along those terms from a personality standpoint. Brett Becker was the junior detective on it. He was the one that came in to work with Kevin Manning. Kevin Manning was lead, and Brett Becker, though, years later, he would go on to move on to do other things, but the current detectives that were working the case would call him periodically to get his advice or to get back an old conversation or something he might have remembered from back in the day as they're continuing to work this case forward. Okay, so excuse me. The important thing to take away from this is that that again, once you start learning what Vegas learns, it becomes a lot more clear that they might have a better idea of what's going on in the investigation than you and I do. Okay, and that's the way it should be. Okay.
There's a new document up. I don't
Let's
know
see.
if you read that part right there. I don't. Just kind of just.
Yeah, we said we read that. Yeah, and jumping to the middle of the paragraph and it said, and he was in that lane, and then to dodge me, jumped to the other lane and continued on down the road. At that time, I was seeing the Cadillac zoom out of the street. He looked to be going about 40 miles an hour. If it would have been in the other lane when he punched the car to go so fast, he'd have not made that sharp turn. Okay, he would have swerved in the other lane, not going straight towards me. So I felt the car came out of the lane next to the BMW, and by him almost hitting me, I had to stop. Okay, I had to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing. And again, I want to go and maybe answer one or two more questions. We ran really long this show, but
Yeah.
very important evidence, big piece of information there as always, we do have the live stream, and I'll rip the audio from this live stream, and we'll put it down on a podcast of its own, so that way you all can listen to it in your car if you want to. You don't have to get that. I'm a big believer of I've tried to get YouTube over my car stereo, and it's always kind of a pain in the ass, even if I only want to listen to the audio, because it does chew up a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah. Before we jump though, I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna just probably read the whole document, and then if you want to put the video out, that's cool. If you want to do that, I don't know if you want to do that, but
yeah, that would be fine.
okay.
That would be
Just so people can see it. I mean, because like when I read it, it's going to be theater of mind. But a lot of times people want to see it, because of course you're going to get people that are going to say, "Oh, there's no document," or there was only pages, or they just kind of cut and pasted, everything. But
right. We cut it and pasted it. That's right. Yes, we cut, because heaven knows. And that somebody mentioned the cut. You know what? I'm going to talk about Corey Edwards. Probably maybe our next show we'll talk about Corey Edwards and what I think about his interview on that Who Killed Biggie and Tupac with Benjamin Crump. I think maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Maybe our next week we'll talk about that. But at any rate, let's see here. Death Row East actually said, I've got 2 questions about Baby Lane. Any info on, was he ever involved in a bank robbery or attempted bank robbery? Also, any info on the other rapper supposedly murdered Lex Diamonds? Death Row East, I have no answer for you on either one of those. So that was I don't know. Kazi, maybe we could take a jump and take a look at that. Can we mark that for a follow-up? Because I don't know.
Diamond, if it was involved in a bank robbery. I don't know. Never heard that before.
Yeah.
Just like the
no. Well, let's follow it up. And earlier I said the rumor was that there were Southside Crips
and being confined to a wheelchair for a year. That's another street tale, I guess.
I don't know, but maybe we can find out. The important thing here to take away from all this stuff, and we take great pains to go through all these details, and why? I mean, it'd be very easy for us to do kind of like Greg Kading and go, see, we have this document. Here we go. Got the document. Here's a book of my storage facility. Here's a page with a picture of my storage facility on it, and there's 18 boxes stacked up against the wall. That's the murder investigation. Oh, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's just a bunch of bankers' boxes stacked on top of each other in the side of your garage. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you just say that's what it is. Okay, guys, you have to ask.
Breaking into storage lockers at some point.
Oh yeah, there's that video that's out there, him breaking into a storage locker. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Of evidence. Maybe he was looking.
That's where he figured. Maybe he thought that's where Russell Poole kept them. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Again, I try not to beat on people too hard, but they bring this on themselves by putting this obnoxious crap out there. And what's worse about it is they go on these big lecture tours out publicly saying that they're above people like me and people like other people, because they say that we go around accusing people with no evidence. Okay, we go around accusing people with no evidence. Well, strangely, I've never seen a single piece of evidence other than Keith Davis's statement ever come out of that camp. Have you?
Nope.
We bring documents, baby. We bring statements. We bring the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Who cares what the LAPD's Tupac investigator has to say? Who cares? They're not the one prosecuting the case. Vegas is prosecuting the case. That's what we care about. Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna go interview Kazi's nephew about something that happened to my sister. Okay, fuck. I mean, you really get this right. So, anyway, all right. So, listen, that is it. We'll do that, and I think Gerardo's right. Welcome to the show, Gerardo. I probably didn't call you out. I should have. Phil Carson and Becker are important people. I think Becker is actually, excuse me, in a cabin somewhere. I think he's enjoying his retirement. And honestly, and I don't blame him, these guys, once they get retired, they don't want anything to do with this. I mean, they don't have the aspirations. Kevin Manning would have come out with a book 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if he had aspirations of thinking he would take on the Tupac legacy and write a book and make $1 million on his book. Okay. He wasn't that he wasn't interested. Becker's probably not interested. I would be surprised. They haven't done it by now, so I doubt that they will. But at the end of the day, it's just, I got to, by the way, I got to fix my camera, man. This thing makes me look like Jabba the Hutt. This the angle of the camera where it looks like I get fat, like
blurred
I look.
background you got.
Well, I also look like I've got this three-dimensional view of my stomach. I'm really not that fat, but with the kind of white background, it makes it looks like I'm a giant triangle. I hear the Uncle Fester crowd, but I look like kind of a giant triangle. So maybe I should sit up more and actually uh, not lay back in my seat because it seems to give that three-dimensional view. It makes me look like Jabba the Hutt
Yeah,
for
no, I don't
sure.
think you should wear that
And
T-shirt.
but
I just
and you
think
see
you
my
should
other
wear
picture, I already know
your
the
Las
difference. I
Vegas
know what Jabba the Hutt looks like.
lady uniform.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hard for me to fit in that uniform now. But anyway, all right, guys. Well, listen, thank you again. We couldn't have done it without you all. Absolutely. H.G. Wells, Bandstar, welcome. Mickey Horror, welcome to the show. Death Row East, of course, welcome to the show. There's a lot of people here. Sunny Boy 88, thank you for your comments. I know that we're gonna talk about Chris Nassif, or see if there's any more traction there at all. But again, thank you guys. We couldn't have done this without you for sure. We look forward to your comments. RJ Bond, what I know at outlook.com is the email address. If you've got any questions, we do respond to the emails. For all the knuckleheads that want to write an email, want to ask another question and follow up. Again, the schedule for the broadcast is that Tuesdays by probably about 6 p.m. the podcast goes out. Then we have the live stream 9 p.m. Thursdays. We might try to bring it down a little earlier because that might be why we're not getting as good a numbers, Kazi, because maybe people are midnight's kind of a late time for most people who
Well,
work.
we had
So
up to 58 tonight. 58.
no, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did good.
Yeah, it's been
So
hovering around 40,
yeah.
45 to 58, but you're right. I mean, we'll look at it next time to see if we'll get a bigger turnout if we start earlier.
Yeah, maybe we might. That's for sure. We get a little bit going, where maybe it's like 6 my time here and 9 your time there, where people are actually home and after work and kind of chilling. So anyway, guys, like I said, couldn't have done it without you all. Thank you for being a part of the show as always. Tuesdays podcast, Thursdays live stream, Fridays podcast live stream. So anything else, Kazi, you can think of before we split?
I'm gonna stay online for about maybe 5 minutes. I'm gonna read the rest of the document, and then we
Awesome.
anticipate that you're gonna go ahead and do a full video
Okay.
scroll of the
Yep.
whole document, so we don't get any comments that it was doctored or whatever they want to, however they want to spin it. But I appreciate you,
Right.
doing this tonight,
Of course.
and I think that a lot of people are excited about what's coming. But the other thing
Oh,
too
we got a
is
lot more coming,
we
dude.
have
We got a
to
lot more coming, dude.
sift through 1,400 documents, and you got to kind of get rid of
Mm.
the fluff and then whatever else is important. So, I
Right.
appreciate you.
Yeah, no, man. No problem, dude. You take care. You guys, good night. For RJ, I'm signing off. Hang tight with Kazi. He's gonna read you a story. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks,
Yeah,
RJ.
bye.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and read you the rest, and then RJ's gonna get you the video scroll of everything. So we're kind of tailoring this to fit the best way to do it. So there's been some trial and error, of course, but we'll get it going. So anyhow, I'm gonna make this quick. I'm gonna kind of do a speed read, but this is everything that you're gonna see in the scroll roll. So the following is the transcription of a tape recorded interview conducted by Detective Brent Becker. His number and LVMPD homicide detail. This was conducted on 9/8/97 at 14:15 hours, which is 2:15 for anybody who's in the military. Anyhow, okay, Miss Blank, can't give you the name. You contacted me on your own regarding the shooting and ultimate death of Tupac Shakur today. Is that correct? Right. And is there something that recently showed up in the press that may kind of push you towards forward to come talk to me? Yes. That's page 1. Page 2. And what was that? The position, and I'm reading this verbatim. Position of the cars in the paper are not in the position they were during the incident. Okay. And what brought you in with you is a copy of the Las Vegas Sun Sunday edition, September 7, 1997, in which the article written by Kathy Scott titled Tupac 1 year later, and it got kind of a little map showing the street and cars. Is that correct? That's right. And you recall being on Flamingo that night? Yes. And you remember this because of what? Some media reports later on about what happened there. I was there when the shooting was there, and I was afraid to come forward because of the getaway car almost hit me, so I didn't know if he recognized my car or what, so that is why I didn't come forward. Okay, what kind of car were you driving that night? I have a 1988 Ford Ranger pickup. What color was that? It was tan. This is page 3 of the statement. Was there anybody else in the car with you? Yes, I had 2 people. Friends of yours? Yes. And they're reluctant to come forward also. I don't. They're Spanish. I don't know if they know how to come forward. So which lane were you in that night? I was turning right, and I was the only car in the right-hand lane going south, going east on Flamingo and turning right on Colval Lane. I was the only one in the right-hand lane. Okay. And you're in the right turn lane, which goes all the way up to the curb. Is that correct? Yes, right. And you were making a right turn to go south on Koval, right? And I was turning right on a red light. Did you see or hear anything unusual happen while you were at near the intersection? About 4 cars before I got to the intersection. I heard about 8 shots from one gun. It was an automatic, and I think that there was some speculation, and I think it's true. The K-Dub and Trayvon Lane blocked in Suge Knight, which was kind of strange, and they knew better, according to Suge. Anyhow, did you see the shooting or you just hear it? No, I heard it. One of the persons in the car hit the floor, and I'm trying to get out of the area because I'm going right. Did you see where the shots were directed to? All I seen was a BMW had something was wrong with it, and it was angled towards the cars that was turning left. Okay, so it was angling to the left also. Yeah. Could you see who was in that BMW? No. Could you see anybody in it? No. I didn't even try to see anything in the BMW. I was just assuming maybe it was a car accident because I didn't know where the shots were going. So I just noticed something's wrong with the beam, which is the black BMW, being as it was in the front. It was kind of angled towards the car on the left. Then it was the car on the left, then turn. Okay, using the diagram, just for the sake of something to draw on, show me where the car would be at the time you heard the shots. Oh, it was about 4 cars back. Back here, from the corner? Yeah. From the stop sign. Where was the BMW at? I thought it was pretty close up front. Closer to the light? Yeah. And where was the Cadillac? Not exactly. I'm not sure exactly if I know where the Cadillac was. I can tell you that I thought the Cadillac did and what lane I assume he could have been in. And the way that I felt that the Cadillac was probably next to the BMW on the red light. He shot out on Colval going right and passing about 2 feet from me. Keyword 2 feet. 2 feet from me, she had a vantage point, causing me to go over to the right and stopped to get out of the way. And he was in that lane and to dodge me. He jumped into the other lane and continued on down the road. At the time that I was seeing the Cadillac zoom out on the street, he looked to be going about 40 miles an hour. If it would have been in the other lane when he had punched the car to go fast, he could have not made that sharp turn. He would have swerved into the other lane, not going straight towards me. So I felt the car came out of the lane next to the BMW, and by him almost hitting me, I had to stop. It was a white Cadillac. It was a large Cadillac. I thought it was like an Eldorado. I feel like it was a 2-door. I seen the tail lights. It was not a late model car. I think I had seen the man. I think the back of his head, he looked like a black man with short hair. And how many people could you recall seeing in the car? I really don't know. I know I seen one. I don't know if there was anyone else. I don't know. It all happened too fast. Did you see a license plate? I seen a California license plate, but I did not get the number. And you got idiots that will say, "Oh, well, Frank Alexander should have been a better witness, and he should have seen the the license plate." Well, how the hell is he supposed to see the license plate when you got somebody who's 2 feet away that didn't even see the damn license plate? Sorry, I got to get on my soapbox, but some people are just stupid. Anyways, I seen a California license plate, but I did not get the number. When you say that, when this car, the Cadillac, turned on Koval, did you have to hit the curb or climb the curb, or you just go up against the curb? I just got up against it and stopped immediately because he was coming so fast. We were shaking when we got out of the car because we thought for sure we were gonna be hit. Can you identify who was in the Cadillac? In that Cadillac? No. After Cadillac passed you, where did you go? I went over into the left hand lane to go into the bar that's called blank. I don't know what that bar is. Okay. Is it the Ellis Island? Yeah, yeah. Okay. I put into the valet while I'm doing it, doing and getting the ticket for valet. I'm hearing a cop going down Cobalt the same direction as the Cadillac, and so I think it's maybe 1 or 2 minutes after this happened. The cop was already down the road with flashing lights and sirens, chasing after this person. Okay, so when you say you heard a cop, you heard lights and sirens. Yes. Saw the car go by. No, I did not see the car because I'm in the aisle, park valet, and I'm just getting out. So I'm hearing it and I see, like hearing the flashing. I don't know if I had turned around and I had seen it. I did hear a cop. I think I turned around and I seen a cop, but now I can't guarantee I seen it. I just know I heard a car and fast. Could it have been an ambulance with lights and sirens? No, no. It was a car. You're certain of that? Yes. And it was a police car. Yes. But you're saying it's 1 to 2 minutes after the Cadillac had gone by. Yes, yes. And you heard approximately 8 shots. Yes. They were real quick. Yes, it was an automatic. It was like an automatic. Was there any space between the shots? No. I didn't. Just rapid succession. Rapid succession. Was there ever a time when there was one lone shot fired? And I think he asked that question because of the whole speculation if there was a chase, and we've always heard that there was a shot. Not that I noticed. Is there anything else about the car, about the white Cadillac or the person or persons in the white Cadillac that you recall that you can tell me about? No, that's all the information I can give. Did you see if they were wearing a hat? No, they didn't wear a hat or clothing or color or anything. No. Okay, and you will attempt to get a hold of these people or those people that they were in the car with you to see if you can get them to call me. Is that correct? Right. I'll let you know something. All right. The statement is concluded. Same date at 2:23 p.m. Same people present. And that's pretty much the entirety of the witness statement that was there. And I'm not going to talk your ears off here. I'm going to read a few more comments. It says, Kadeen said Orlando started the beef by killing Suge's friend, Jermaine Dupri. That was Great Kadeen's narrative. We know supposedly who killed Suge's friend. I mean, think about it. We've talked about it before. Orlando Anderson's a Teflon Don. He could kill Suge's friend. He can steal a chain. He can kill Tupac. He can do all these things. But it doesn't even get killed by the guys that he's perpetuating this violence towards. So anyhow, so we got, let's see here. I've heard 2 questions about BB Lane and the info. Was he ever involved in a bank robbery? Don't know that question. Okay. Any info on the murder that Freaky Dre got acquitted of? Well, there's four. I don't think so because these are Las Vegas documents. So if there's anything, I don't think he committed a murder supposedly in Las Vegas. So that would be something that would be in California's jurisdiction. Any info on the murder? Okay, so we gone by that already. Okay, the women convertible claim it was Nevada plates. Thanks, guys. Do more videos. We will do more videos. Okay. Miss the live stream. Will be up in a few minutes. Let's see here. I think that guy, security, is full of shit and Great Kading. I think I heard from Kadada Jones that the chain snatch happened that Vegas night, the new Pac chain. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going. Kading brings something to the table. I certainly agree with you on that. He's, in my opinion, full of it. And I heard the evidence of euthanasia. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'm just kind of scrolling through here real quick. The true model, other than the fact that it was white Cali, we don't know the occupancy. We're in the vehicle. Okay. Heard it was really a Lincoln Town car. Is there one of the girls in the convertible? Are there any additional witness statements? There is 1,400 documents that were retrieved by R.J. Bond. Think about it from this perspective, okay? You have to sift through 1,400 documents, and you got to sift through the fillers and the newspaper articles that really bring nothing to the table of any evidence value. So he has to go through 1,400 documents. So it's going to take some time to look through everything and read through large case file. And then they still have close to 1,900 still under their wraps. So is there any way? No, I don't believe there is. I don't believe there is a way to get those documents. He got them from a certain source, and I didn't ask him to let me know where he got those from. Basically, to me, it's not important. What's important to me is that he's able to share them with the community, and you're able to see a different perspective on the Tupac Shakur murder investigation from the Las Vegas Metropolitan PD's eyes, and not from the Compton PD's eyes or from the LAPD eyes. You get it straight from the source. I mean, I wouldn't say that LAPD or even Compton PD has been forefront. I mean, there's a lot of, let's say, a lot of bias and a lot of connections there that are hard to break. I mean, you have friends, and sometimes your bias takes over. So I'll pretty much leave it at that. But he's gonna make a video roll of this so you can actually read it, so that you don't get the pundits who will say, well, they only put out certain pieces of it, and you know how do we know it's not real? Well, we're gonna put it out. It's real. It's a perfect example. We're not gonna sit on a chair and show a piece of paper, an 8x11, to a crowd of people, and we don't even know what's written on it, and then people will say, well, that's real. He'll say that's real. This is evidence here. Look at it. You can't even read it. I mean, the it's like in 10 point, and nobody's gonna question it. So, I mean, pretty much he can say whatever he wants, and people will believe it. So that's my point. So RJ will put it out, and you can read it. And week to week as we go along, he sends me documents, and I review them and I look at them, and he's a whole lot more knowledgeable than I am, because he's been doing this for 12 plus years. I've only been doing it for so long myself, so I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. But what I don't believe is the Orlando Anderson narrative. I just don't. And I think I've explained that in my previous videos. And that's my stance. Now, can I say who was actually in that car and did the murder? I mean, I have an idea, but the thing is I don't want to speculate on who could be the murderer, because it's really not my place to do it. I mean, I just kind of keep those things close to my vest, and that's it. Whoever is the murderer or murderers of Tupac, they're the ones that have to worry about what they did. I don't have to come out and say what they did. At the end of the day, you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself. So whoever it may have been, that's on them. But just remember, the truth never expires. So the truth always comes out, and I'll just make a point here. If somebody was accusing me of murder and I had nothing to do with it, and this is basically a J-Mix quote here. Somebody could say that he was a bank robber, and he wouldn't spend a minute trying to disprove that. I wouldn't either. If I didn't commit a crime, I wouldn't spend any of my time trying to disprove it. What for? There's no point. So there has to be some things that get to certain people that make them want to get aggravated. They get aggravated and then they start using dirty tactics to, you know, prevent you or stop you from doing what you do. You know, if you're a journalist, you have the right to say what you want to say responsibly. I get it. That's why I'm not going to sit here and say I know who murdered Tupac publicly, but I am going to tell you that I don't believe Orlando Anderson did it or even the Southside Crips. A lot of people will go with a lot of stories because they get paid for it and they know that they got a sweet deal that will never see them get prosecuted for anything. So that's my take on that. So next week's show, same time, same place, Spotify on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays we'll do the live stream on YouTube, and you guys will get a better show, more fine tuned. Like I said, this is a trial and error, and hopefully next week we can get we'll have a call in number. So if anybody wants to call in and give their opinions on the Tupac story, they certainly may. I mean, we've had in the past, in one of my past shows, we had a call in, and I believe, if I remember correctly, there was 3 individuals. Of course, Jamar Hatton, he called in, and he's intelligent, so he pretty much gave a good spin on everything. And then we have some guy named Ti that I've never heard back from again. I think his name is MB, his moniker. And then we had a guy named Tori Shelsky that came on and gave his spin on the Tupac investigation or whatnot. So we'll do that next week, and hopefully we get some people that will call in and chime in. And even if you're not from this side of the track, so to speak, and you believe in the other theory, it's okay to call. It's okay to chime in. It's okay to say whatever you want. Just be constructive about it. Be intelligent about it. Don't be vile, because there's other channels where there's a bunch of idiots who just they don't have any intelligence or critical thinking, and they just think that they can talk to you the way they talk to their parents, probably. I don't know, but the glory about YouTube is that you can block people, and you don't have to hear from them again. So that's a great thing. So anyhow, I'm gonna answer a few more questions, and then I'm gonna jump on this. So about the documents, can't really tell you about that. Notice you removed a little half did on stage with Tupac. Can I ask why? And let's see here. And I have your RJ's position changed regarding Little Half Did being the likeliest culprit in Tupac's killing. The Little Half Did videos were taken down because, I'll be honest with you, I was trying to get my channel monetized, and there was a lot of content in there that was copyright struck. And essentially, if I wanted to be able to live stream, and if I wanted to be able to make money on these videos, and I'll let you know that there's not a lot of money in this, but of course, I'm gonna get paid for my time, whether it be pennies or nickels. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in it for the labor of love of Tupac Shakur, great artist. So nobody could ever say, well, you're in this for the money. There is no money. There's none. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're making 50 cents, $1 on a video, but if I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna edit a video and take my time and do a video, I mean, I'll take 50 cents, I'll take $1, I'll take $20, I'll take whatever, but I'm not asking for donations or anything of that nature. I got a regular job. I get paid well for what I do. So, nobody could ever say, well, you're doing it for the money. And that was just always one of the excuses and cop-outs for people. That's one of their first arguments, is that you're making money doing this. Well, I mean, isn't that the way capitalism works? You're supposed to do something and get paid money to do it. It's not a lot of money, like I said. So anyways, I digress on that, but that's the reason why those videos came down, along with other videos as well, is because I wanted to get my channel monetized, and I wanted to be able to live stream. So there's not very much more explanation than that. There's no ulterior motive about why I took those videos down. So I think that's pretty much it. As far as there being any evidence for Little Half Did, I mean, that's all speculation. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, all I can tell you is that sometimes people would, the patents or whoever it is could write the letter. They could use a drop a name to sensationalize the document. You know, who knows? Who knows where they thought it would go? But I mean, if you wanna ask me if he wrote "Brenda's Got a Baby," no, I don't believe that. Tupac was too talented to have a guy like Little Hap did write that. But it just makes it a more of a juicier letter. It gives it more reason is probably what their thinking was. So I won't go too much into any of that. But like I said, I have my opinion on who I believe killed Tupac. I won't say it publicly. All I will say is that there's a lot of people who are liars. There's a lot of people who don't tell the truth. There's a lot of people who will marginalize the things you say. They'll make fun of you and things of that nature, which I really don't care because I'm not here for their benefit. I'm here for my own benefit, and I'm here to spread the word about what I believe happened to Tupac Shakur. So that's really it. I don't care what the other side's doing. I don't care what kind of videos they want to make. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is just spreading some truth. And like I said, anybody's welcome over here on this side. We're not gonna kick people out as long as they're not vile. I mean, you go to other channels and they kick you out, and it's just that's just their personalities. They're just idiots. So I'll just leave it at that. And I don't have time to waste. So anyhow, I want to just give you a shout out to everybody, and that's it. We're gonna wrap it up for tonight. You'll get the screen. You'll get the video roll. Gerardo, thank you for being here. Def Ruiz, thank you for being here. Band Store, H.G. Wells, Poop Shoot, Whiskey the Don, as always. Jamar, Hatton, thank you for being here tonight. Yeezy 808, thank you for being here. Phoenix Egypt, thank you for being here. Jen Marie, thank you for the donation. Thank you for being here. Certainly appreciate it. I'm gonna just keep down the line, going the line here. Bronze Greer, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate you. Christopher Winsky, thank you for being here. And let's see if there's anybody. Never Obey, as always. Thank you for being here. Tupac is dead, by the way. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. Tune in next week. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your girlfriends, tell your girlfriends, whatever. Tell them all. Tell them to be here. Spotify, RJ Bond, what I know. I'm the co-host. I'm the Robin to the Batman, and then we do the live streams on Thursday. So we appreciate you being here as always, and as I always tell you guys, always seek the truth, no matter where it takes you. Have a good night, folks.